Next weekend, it is the biggest weekend in all of sim racing, the iRacing Daytona 24. But before that, a chance to go out and sign Solo. It is iRacing Roar Before, presented by Go Motorsports Shop. Welcome along to the first of the iRacing Esports Network special events. Arjuna Kankapati joined alongside by Peter Mackay. And Peter, you and I will be at this great track in 2 weeks for the Rolex 24. But for sim racers around the world, a chance for them all to see what the spectacle is like by jumping behind the wheel of a virtual race car.
Well, when you talk about the Indy 500, you talk about the month of May, but when it's Daytona, you talk about the month of January. It's a great way to kick off the year, get rid of those winter blues, and get out on track at the World Centre of Racing. This is a circuit that's really intriguing to watch for multi-class racing. There's a lot about fuel mileage that we're going to talk about today, and also that slipstream as well.
Oh, yes, and this event historically has seen so much madness in terms of the racing itself. Qualifying about to get underway. Let's walk you through what is a wild 2026 slate of special events, taking you through across cars, tracks, disciplines, and time as well. We start, of course, at Daytona. 3 straight special events. First, the endurance ones, and then, to kick off the NASCAR iRacing Series, a full-length Daytona 500. We continue the sports car theme, though, through much of the first half of the year. Highlights including the likes of the Nürburgring 24, as well as the introduction of the 6 hours of Road America. But, of course, Peter, the mix-up and the shake-up of disciplines is what makes this so great, catering to all the different things available on iRacing.
I think it typifies what iRacing have done over the last 5 to 10 years, how they've broadened the scope, and every kind of possible motor racing scenario and key event that you can think of, it's here, whether you want to race it casually or whether you want to take on one of these special events. And if you're one of the higher graded drivers, you might even end up in the top split, and getting a win in a top split in any of these events is a big deal for the drivers.
But like you say, anyone can enter these events, and that's what is making it so great. Yes, you need a minimum license level, but this is something where we'll have tens of thousands next week. Join us for the iRacing Daytona 24, powered by VCO. This is the format. The drivers have just finished up 30 minutes of warm-up, and they are diving into their 8 minutes of qualifying, where they get the track to themselves and 2 laps to go quick. 2.4 hours now. Is that 2 hours and 40 minutes? No, here it's 144 minutes of racing that we'll have, so just under 2.5 hours. Dynamic weather, although from what I can understand, I don't think we've got so much worry about rain coming and changing things in the race itself. Sky cloud cover is going to move around, and so track temperature is going to shift, and it's a solo event. No teams and drivers to do driver changes. Drive-through limit might be something we talk about slightly later. But also crucially, Peter, a 60-car field split across 3 classes, LMP3, GT4, as well as TCR.
It's a brilliant mix, isn't it? So you can go in a prototype, you can go in a production-based GT, or you can go for the front-wheel drive touring car. And we don't really see the front-wheel drive touring cars out there in the special events very often. And I think it's a great thing to see, because there's a few drivers on the iRacing service that really have a speciality in that TCR car. So looking forward to see how they get on today and who comes out on top.
It's a bit of a combination of the IMSA VP Sports Car Challenge, which features LMP3, GT3 and GT4, as well as the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge with its GT4 and touring car. And of course, IMSA and the team at iRacing have been working in close collaboration. Peter, you've commentated previously on the IMSA Esports Global Championship. We've just finished up another great season of that. And I'm really excited about what the drivers have to look forward to. Another full year of virtual racing, and that includes, like I mentioned earlier, the introduction of the 6 hours of Road America to match the real world going there as well. Qualifying, as I did mention, is underway, and drivers with the track to themselves, it is go fast time. And the field has got some big names in it as well. The 3 classes feature names like Casey Kerwin, who we see on track right now, winding his way back to the start-finish line. We've also got drivers like Moritz Lohner, Yuri Kastorp, some big names from the world of esports. joined by Morgan Burkhart and a couple of other drivers from the world of real-world motorsports. It will be LMP3 drivers that, of course, set their lap times first, and it's Christophe Herbigno that's momentarily jumped to provisional pole position, and now the wait, Peter, for the GS and the TCR machines to make their way to the line too.
We'll open qualifying here where the drivers get the whole circuit to themselves. They don't all go out on track at the same time. They basically have their own little private circuit to themselves before they go racing a little bit later on. Over the line, we'll get our first lap times coming in. It's Roberto Freezer in the number 21 machine, a 151.884, but immediately usurped by Moritz Lohner in the number 3, 151.731 for Moritz Lohner. In at the Porsche Cayman, the evergreen 718 Porsche Cayman. Then it's on to the TCRs. Who's going to set the ultimate pace? Ross McFarlane, multiple World Touring Car Series champion. Michael Polishek, though, is quickest of the TCRs. 157.9, 158.2 for McFarlane in the Honda.
Yeah, maybe no surprise that Michael Polishek, who has been one of the best drivers in touring cars of note, of recent time especially, has found that gap. But draft will be crucial, especially in those early stages. Look at the gaps through the field. We are talking thousandths in some cases between qualifying times. Christophe Herbigno and Kalen May, the Delatraz Automotive teammates that lock out the front row in LMP3, find themselves currently split by just 86 thousandths. And I say currently because, Peter, we have a second lap to come. Jamie Flukes improved to third, but our provisional pole sitter has a chance to improve even further. From a 142.343, he finds himself another tenth of a second at the front of the field.
142.213, great stuff from Christophe Herbigno in that LMP3 car. Nicolas Laubisch, very strong driver indeed in the Porsche GT4, coming around the banking just now, trying to get the absolute every last millisecond of pace into the Le Mans chicane, the newly reprofiled Le Mans chicane, monstering the curves, the car moving around, not a lot of aerodynamic grip from the GT4.
Ooh.
Oh, and the lap scrubbed. Oh, it won't be an improvement for Laubisch.
And that will be a talking point that we'll get to. New curves through the Le Mans chicane that have impacted the lines that drivers can take, and more importantly, track limits that have been updated as well. Here comes Yuri Kastorp trying to join his teammate Moritz Lohner at the front. Martin Toth has just gone to second. Kastorp does not improve, although Morgan Burkhart's just jumped in front of him. And now with short time remaining, no improvement coming from Jack Sedgwick. Here's Ross McFarlane to the line.
Let's see what he can do then. Ross McFarlane knows these TCR machines well. Is it an improvement? He goes to second.
And 80 thousandths between the front row, Peter.
Wow, wow, that's amazing there in at the TCR category. Looking at the choice of machinery, there's a good mix. Got a couple of Audis in there, a couple of Hondas, the Hyundai Veloster as well. Any Elantras? No, which is strange. It used to be the dominant car, but the balance of performance seems to be suiting the Veloster over the Elantra.
Is the Elantra a choice? Pick it. I forget. You'll have to remind me. Gar Valero jumps up in the running order to now 11th in the GT4 class. We do have a couple of drivers who have not had a chance to set qualifying lap times. Alec Bergstrom included in the Miranda's M Squad machine, of course representing Daniel Morad, who's got a couple of Rolexes from winning here in the real world before. He jumps to 13th, but that might be qualifying done and dusted.
Looks like it. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be any further improvements now as we tick down on the clock. No, the Elantra was a choice, Arjuna, but they're seemingly the Veloster's a little bit quicker.
Well, we'll talk BOP maybe during the race. Some slight adjustments in the GT4 and GS ranks, of course, in the LMP3 class. Only one choice. As, of course, in the real world, we welcome a new generation of LMP3 cars. Maybe something that in iRacing we'll get to enjoy not too far away as well. Let's dive into the starting grid and look at the sea of Delatraz Automotive. They have been dominant in prototype machinery that's not GTP, and includes this LMP3 machine. Herbigno, May, interrupted by Jamie Fluke, who now runs by himself in the number 7. You've got Corentin Milleru, Paris Charles for Solpec Precision Racing. He's got Jai Fletcher for company as we work to roast 4 on the grid. Daniel Lomba and then Aaron Full, the second of those Solpec cars. Casey Kerwin lines up 9th. Timu Milikangas, the first of the WSR Esports machines, while Louis Valentin, Roman Bockler share row number 6. Alec Bergstrom, Nathan Moore, and then Max Cuthbert and Pascal 6. The first driver 1 second off the pace as you see the familiar Core Sim Racing orange and white. Gaimda Rogner 17th, Adam State alongside in 18th, while Nathan Lafrange and Daniel Sekulik make up the top 20. Just Nick Langer with no time on the board in this LMP3 class. It's a big field of GS machinery, almost 30 GT4 cars. Moritz Lohner quickest of them all, almost a quarter of a second. Martin Toth second, Roberto Frieser inside of Nicholas Laubish on row 2. Plenty of Porsches seemingly showing their speed before you get down to Damon Woods, the first of the Mustangs, in 5th. Liam McNeely in the Altitude 3M entry is 6th, 7th for Andre Vlier in the number 16. Elliot Badinsky is in a BS Plus hybrid number 46. Morgan Burkhardt, Eureka Castorp make up the top 10, with Gar Valero and Matt Kendall just behind them. We'll start to fly through the field because they're about to filter off on their formation lap. Christopher Eliach and Julian Van Boel, 13th and 14th. DJ Alessandrini, Alex Nogue, Cody Deeth, Alberto Senau, and then Tommy Razier and Pedro Vigario. As I mentioned, a big field of GT4 cars and only a second between them or so, 27 that will get ready to fight. Last but not least, it's touring cars. Michael Polishek, Ross McFarlane, teammates for World Sim Racing, but in different cars. We'll see how that fares between the two of them. Manuel Saralegrini and then Jack Sedgwick start on row 2 with Andre Castro and Agustin Fernandez just behind them. It's a relatively small field, yes, in touring cars, but we know just how feisty they can be. Peter, what are your expectations as we begin to roll on our short formation lap here at the World Centre of Racing?
Well, it's a big grid, and cars that make their performance in different ways is going to make multi-class racing really tricky. There's certain parts of the circuit where it's not an issue, but you know, when you're on the high banks, you can make some moves. But it gets a little bit pinch point in turn 1 down into the International Horseshoe, Western Horseshoe as well. So watch out for multi-class disagreement, shall we say, and getting through the traffic cleanly is going to be key. And great to see such a big GT4 field as well. Loads of quality in there, and likewise in TCR, a little bit less number of cars in there, but very, very high quality. Let's go.
Well, remember, all 3 classes start at the same time. It's time to roar before the 24 here at the World Centre of Racing. Off the banking we will work, and the sea of Delatraz Automotive entries at the front of the field controls the pace, while Moritz Lohner leads the GT4s off to the start-finish line. Jamie Fluke feels the pressure, but he will just about hold on to third momentarily. He concedes the inside into the International Horseshoe as the LMP3 cars with no ABS have to try and work their way through safely. Bit of chaos at the back. GT4s strangle through turn 1 now cleanly. Here come the TCRs. Michael Polishek leads them through.
So tight in the GT4s as well. Such a big field where track position is going to be really important. It's all spin. It's Cedric off. Cedric off in the middle of the pack in the TCRs and takes 2 cars with them. So it's drama already in the TCRs. Do they all carry back on again? Looks like they do, but not without damage.
There was contact even earlier through the opening corner as well. Not easy for them. The GT4s have a spin at the second of the horseshoes. Meanwhile, off and towards the Le Mans chicane for the first time. It is now Delatraz Automotive 1, 2, and 3. Corentin Milleru was able to sneak in front of Jamie Fluke, but they fly into the corner. Speeds just shy of 290 kilometers an hour. And look at those curbs. Aggressive if you miss your line, and they will send you flying off and into those tire bundles that lurk menacingly. 1 car already victim. It's Nathan Lafrange that finds himself in trouble. Everyone else sneaks through fine.
Delatraz 1, 2, 3 at the moment. In fact, well, Delatraz 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment in LMP3 as they come round towards the end of the opening lap of this 2026 iRacing Roar. Almost bump drafting one another. It's like a Shinkansen of LMP3 is coming into turn 1 now, trying to get the car slowed down. As you mentioned, Arjuna, no ABS either, so easy to just pinch a brake. But I have to say, this LMP3 car, for those who haven't driven it, give it a go, because it's the handling characteristics. It's a actually a really friendly car to drive, and really, really good fun.
End of lap 1, it is very, very tight in this GT4 pack where that draft is going to play its part. And yeah, a couple of Ford Mustangs are in the mix, but it is mostly Porsche Cayman. Still Lohner that leads. These GT4s also equally fun in many ways. There are some drivers that prefer these with their lack of downforce compared to the GT3s. That's Nicholas Laubish off into the grass on the outside of the International Horseshoe, and pain for the fiercely forward driver as he tumbles down the running order. Back to your LMP3 cars, Peter, as they work back onto the banking. Some margin beginning to grow as Jai Fetcher fighting with Casey Kerwin here, opening the gap to those in front.
And this is where, as things settle in, the driver, you've got to then assess the plan. Is it possible to move forward in the bunch, or are you going to have to? Are you quite happy with the car in front? Oh, car wide there as well. Are you quite happy to sit and save fuel, because there is a lot to be gained if you can save a lap or even 2 laps of fuel, but you can only do that if you've got a car breaking the slipstream in front of you. So that is where the drivers have got to be tactical, and sometimes having friends rather than enemies really helps in this pack.
There's a couple of cars that really lost out through the chicane. I wonder if there was some slowdowns, unfortunately having to be served, and really outside of the top 10 is where all the battling is. Max Cuthbert sees Roman Bokler, Alec Bergstrom fighting. Meanwhile, some chaos at the tail end of the GT4 pack as Yuri Kastorp picks the pieces up. And look at the margin that's now been built up. So I tell you what, it's probably about that time that we begin the replay carousel and work our way through some of what has occurred at the start of this race. And Peter, let's start down to turn number 1 as World Sim Racing, that 17, already loops it around by itself.
Oh, and then catches one of the Hyundais as well. So car 17, that was Konstantin Stolzenberg. Then it's a strange one there with Jack Sedgwick in the 44 Audi. He has carried on after that incident. Oh, it looked like he got a big help there.
Yeah, not ideal.
Oh dear.
And maybe some words. He's representing the Inex Racing colours. Good to see that livery back on display. One of the older sim racing teams that maybe some newer fans of sim racing may not have seen so much of. GT4 starting to pack back up once again. We haven't seen the traffic play its part just yet. Meanwhile, your LMP3 cars, for the most part, running okay, with the exception of Casey Kerwin, who fortunately doesn't have damage, but yet another driver now falling victim to that Le Mans chicane.
That's the number 5, Casey Kerwin. Yeah, that's dropped all the way down to 20th. And that's the thing, at this level, if you make the smallest error, you're down the bottom of the pack. And it's very difficult to then make the way forward. So Casey Kerwin's going to have to quickly recalculate and think, right, what do we do from here? As one of the Porsches as well. Ooh, off in the Le Mans chicane. That's the 54 car. No, I can't see it.
That was Julian.
Tommy Razdale. Oh, apologies.
That was Julian Van Boel, actually, in the Maniti Racing
Okay.
entry. This is then poor Claudio Mack on exit of the Le Mans chicane, falling victim. And like I said, replay carousel. A couple more incidents to quickly piece our way through. Nicholas Laubis. Was there contact here? Ooh, I'm going to say yes, on the nose of the Falcon Ford Mustang.
Yeah, the big Mustang coming through. Didn't need much contact, but it was enough to twirl Laubish around.
And oh dear. So Yuri Kastorp gets unsettled initially on the curb, and then on exit squeeze. Not much I think either driver could have done differently. I'd love to jump on board here with Casey Kerwin and just ride to see what happens.
It doesn't unsettle the car much, just a little wobble. And, Casey's a seriously good driver. And even he couldn't catch it there. A perfect demonstration of the difficulty of that new configuration of the Le Mans chicane. Well, Delatraz leads at Daytona. I've said that before, albeit Louis the driver, not the team.
Yes, but again, Delatraz Automotive are a team that, most recent LMP2 special event winners at the iRacing Petit Le Mans. You don't really see them too much in the GTP. They enjoy the more raw LMP2 and LMP3, which, to be fair, someone like a Dane Cameron wouldn't disagree with that sort of a discussion. So there are merits to wanting to be in that sort of an environment. Aaron Full, the Brit, finds himself full of struggles and now forced out wide by Timu Milikangas. But I say that could have been a whole lot worse. He recovers down in 10th.
Well, one of the reasons why a lot of teams and drivers enjoy LMP2 and indeed LMP3 is because you're driving the same stuff. There's no balance of performance discussion. They don't have to spend hours in testing to decide which car they're going to pick. And it's the same in the real world as well. I mean, LMP3, yes, you have a little bit more of chassis variety, but in LMP2 in the real world, everyone's using an Orica. That's not the rules, but everyone uses the Orica. So you don't have to worry about that. You just get on with your optimizing your weekend. Whereas in the other categories where there is balance of performance, it's more complicated discussion.
Oh, and we'll maybe talk about BOP at some point. BOP maybe not such a factor in TCR, where it's two teammates at the front, Michael Polishek and Ross McFarlane, with a 4-second gap now back. But one's in a Hyundai, one's in a Honda. So BOP may come down to fuel mileage, and it's McFarlane right now who's able to sit behind and sip the fuel effectively. Which is exactly what he wants to do. Meanwhile, there's some bump drafting going on in LMP3 cars. They know there's aero devices at the front that need to work, right?
Yeah, well, it seems like the bump drafting is the way to go for those LMP3s right now. And what you can do then is that the bump drafting means that you don't have to get out the throttle. You just keep the power in and basically push the car in front of you forward. Your other alternative is, of course, is that you breathe out the throttle, keep the same terminal velocity, but you're using less fuel while doing so. So it seems though that everyone doesn't want the leading pack to get away. They want to try and bump draft and actually use a bit more fuel, but try and make that bridge that gap. But right now, the leading group, the 6-car group, has made a little bit of a break.
That was Max Cuthbert getting in front of Louis Valentin, who slipped off the track through the entry into the International Horseshoe. Not really a separation building just yet between the LMP3 cars, who are highlighted in orange on that track map. And guess what? They are about to catch the traffic for the very first time. We jump on board with the race leader, Christophe Herbignot, the Belgian, who did win one of our IMSA Esports LMP3 challenge races that we had as part of the IMSA Esports Global Championship, lifting off there a bit.
Lifting course, but that's super clever from Christophe Herbignot, because he could have dived in there and then just about caught the back of the TCR field, but instead take a big long breathe out the throttle and save some fuel. But also he has the comfort to do that because he's got his teammate behind him. If he didn't have his teammate behind him, might not have been so easy. Is he going to take the whole TCR field before turn 1? Maybe, maybe not. He's hoping so, but that was pretty good though. 9 cars or so, maybe even 10 cars, all in one go.
Remember, they are quite separated out, and as much as I think he'll get past Andre Castro, no, he'll have to go the long way around, and then Manuel Saralague, he's got 2 more in front. Now, let's just listen in into the horseshoe if he's saving fuel here. A little bit less, but I guess now that he's through the traffic with his teammate right on his tail as well, you can see the rest of the cars filtering through. When you've got teammates behind you, Peter, what you can do here is manage the pace a little bit more.
You can, yeah, definitely. If he didn't have a teammate behind him, in fact, it's even better. He's got 2 teammates behind him, which is even better. And they've got to, in a way, they've got to run Christophe's program, don't they? Because Christophe is the leader there. He has to be very careful in his fuel usage, because the cars behind him could potentially use a lot less, and then Christophe could actually lose several positions when they come out of the first pit stop. So they do, you're right, they really do have to manage the pace. They have to work together as a trio, because this is the nature of Daytona. At this level in sim racing, you've got to be so careful on your fuel usage.
Well, and I guess the other thing you could do is swap who leads, but with Jamie Fluke and now Paris Charles really close. It could be increasingly precarious proposition. I think Timu Milikangas dropping down the timing screen might have had another issue through the Le Mans chicane. So that is already inside of 15 minutes, 4-5 cars getting caught up there. Remember, next week, 24 hours, they will travel around this track just shy of about 930 times if the race stays dry. That will be difficult. Now, Jamie Fluke is starting to pile a bit of that pressure on. Sit on board over the shoulder of one of the nicest people in all of sim racing, but as Jamie will be very happy to remind you, nice does not mean that he won't be willing to make a move.
Definitely not. Yeah, he's been at the top level for a long time. As Jamie raced in the Porsche Esports Super Cup for many, many seasons. So I think Jamie Fluke's in a good position there. Is Jai Fletcher going to try and make some moves, split up the team cars there? Through he goes, number 49 in between Parshals and Aaron Fool. Good move.
He dropped down initially. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Arjun. I think coming back to Jamie Fluke, I think he's in a really good spot because the Delatraz cars are running a good pace, but they're maybe not going absolutely flat out. So Jamie can do an enormous amount of fuel saving there. Don't be surprised to see him go a lot longer.
Jamie's actually recently technically retired from competitive sim racing as part of leaving the Apex Racing team, and so in a new phase of his sim racing career where I'm hoping that he'll be able to enjoy it a little bit more. Always hard to enjoy the grind sometimes, but find yourself seeking opportunities to go and do something different, and historically that is what this event has been for Jamie. Meanwhile, for Moritz Lohner, the Maus Esports driver who usually would be racing on Rennsport in R1, on Race Room as well. That's where he's plied his trade. The DTM Esports champion parlayed that into a full season in GT4 racing in the DTM Trophy, albeit not in a Porsche Cayman, it was in a BMW M4. But this is him having a little bit of fun as well and letting off a bit of steam in what is technically his off-season. I do have a story to tell you about Moritz, though, Peter. I was at Sim Racing Expo a couple of months ago with the Rennsport game, and we were doing a in-person community event. And Moritz decided to jump in, and Ewan and I were telling a story about Moritz Lohner taking out a bunch of cars at Turn 1 at Monza, right? Just typical sim racing stuff. Moritz turns around, sees us talking about it, and gives us the Tommy Milner salute. And it was great, captured on camera and everything.
Appropriate story for Daytona as well, where the Tommy Milner salute was first executed, shall we say, and then executed again by Daniel Hunkadea. Well, you could actually say it was the John Cleland salute.
True.
First shown in 1992 at Silverstone.
Tommy Milner was not the first.
No, and won't be the last.
Oh, I would hope that we get more of that coming soon, in a couple of weeks' time. It's always interesting, Peter, watching these sort of races right now. You see the slight shifting behind as Real World IMSA driver and Michelin Pilot Challenge is actually running the livery that he'll be racing here in Daytona in a couple of weeks' time in the 4-hour endurance race, although it disappeared for a second, and we'll ignore that fact. Morgan Burkhardt, part of the CSM Esports crew.
Great to see that crossover between the real world drivers and the sim drivers, to see how they mix together, see how they race together. Yeah, Morgan having some issues with his internet connection by the looks of things. In fact, I'll rephrase that. I was going to say I was racing against Aaron Johnson on Wednesday night in a Kelly Moss sim racing event. I was in the same race as Aaron Johnson. I had my spotter telling me how quick his lap times were as he tore off into the lead. It's like the leader is doing, I think it was 2:03, and I was in the 2:05. So it's like, yes, he does do this for a living, which was great. But I was chatting with him, and I said, "Are you using the sim for training?" He said, "Yeah, definitely, I am." And in fact, with the previous version of the 992 Cup car, he was actually practicing in the GT3R because Porsche Carrera Cup North America used ABS, exactly, but that of course has been put right now, of course, with the new car running the ABS.
Oh, you say put right, but that's a discussion, and we'll get into that actually, Peter, because I do want to get your
Aligned.
That's a great word, actually.
Better word.
Behind Burkhardt, by the way, is Elliot Badinsky, and Morgan Burkhardt is part of the BS hybrid program that Elliot Badinsky is representing with the livery. BS Competition, obviously a big sim racing team for those that are unaware, but as part of BS Hybrid, as the name implies, they are melding the worlds of real and virtual. And so with the Morgan Burkhardt, the Elliot Badinskys, Elliot's racing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge in touring cars most recently, it's an opportunity for some of these real world drivers like the Morgans to come and be in a more organized environment in the sim racing scene, which I think is sometimes important. Now, this does look like it's getting a little uncoordinated potentially. Morgan gets in front of Roberto Freezer. Elliot's not going to be able to take advantage, but Morgan Burkhardt is now +4 today. Zach Ratteray-White's a lot further back, but +10. Peter, this is a long train of GT4 machines, and people are picking their way forward slowly.
Maybe that shows the real world racecraft to be able to make that many moves forward in a bunch. You've got to be really, really clever where you make those moves and where you set them up, and to do that without compromising your track position too much is really, really impressive. That's perhaps where that racecraft comes in. But yeah, GT4, I mean, you know how they say, oh, you could throw a bedsheet over them. Well, it would need to be a big bedsheet, but yeah, there's not much gap between really the whole of the top 15. Whereas in LMP3, it's a little bit more of a break showing. There's a break back from 7th place back to 8th. So Jai Fletcher has actually bridged the gap to the leading group. So he's managed to get his way up into the leading group.
There was some drama through the chicane. I couldn't quite pick out what it was, but maybe now as we get ready to overlap GT4 and LMP3 for the first time, it could be interesting. Paris Charles, who at one point was in 5th, has got a meatball flag, so he's going to be sent straight back down to pit lane. And now let's keep an eye on this. I was more thinking that this is when the gaps would build in both classes, when we start to overlap the slightly bigger of the classes. TCR obviously smaller in number. Let's keep our eye on it. Jai Fletcher in 5th, that last Delatraz Automotive machine in the queue. And now into the traffic, the heavy traffic for the first time.
Very heavy traffic, and unlike with the TCRs, the LMP3s struggling to get past the GT4s, because the GT4s have got really good straight line speed. Braking not so much, and cornering not so much. So that's where the prototypes, with their more lightweight construction and their aerodynamics, help to get through. So that's where. But then when they come into the corners, the actual mechanical grip of the GT4 is not bad, so it again takes a little bit more time for the P3 to get past, because at low speeds the aerodynamics of the car isn't working, and when they're off the brakes, same thing, it's not working as much. So you can see now coming out of the corner, there's not as much of an absolute grunt. They do get past, they do have better speed on the straight, but not as big of an overlap. So look at that, barely blowing by the Mustang here, and now it starts to stall out, and the GT4s have got good horsepower and they're quite slippery.
Yes, no, the GT4 cars, which were actually slowed down recently on iRacing. Oh, and there's trouble. Oh. Was that the leader? Was that Christophe Herbigno? That's now getting really checked up, and that might open the door for those behind. Here comes Kaylin May as they sweep out through NASCAR turn 3 and 4. This is the advantage of having teammates, though. Kaylin May does not press the issue. Herbigno holds on.
Would have been maybe a good time to do a swap, actually, I would say. And yeah, I think, well, there you go. Herbigno, does he have a slowdown penalty to serve? I think he may well do, and he's blocking his teammate. He's going to have to go up and try and block Jamie Fluke there, and that's what he does. Very tactical, very, very tactical from Delatraz. This is where, like I say, having 3 strong drivers in a strong team, what a competitive advantage to have. Jamie Fluke in 4th there, he has a lot on his hands to try and beat these guys, because they can work together so well as they did there.
And almost through the traffic for the first time fully as Kaylin May around Moritz Sloan. And we'll grab a look at some of those replays of incidents in the last couple of laps once some of this madness settles down, but we're not done just yet. The majority of the LMP3 field yet to carve their way through. The bright pink of Max Cuthbert chased down by Alec Bergstrom in that bright red for Miranda's M squad. Cuthbert +8 today, by the way. He is really on the charge. Sneaks Pascal Stix in the Core Sim Racing orange and white. And I think I saw a message, by the way, about can we show some of the team names? Well, technically no, because this is a solo event. It's one of the few sports car events that can be done solo, Peter, which I know there's many people very glad for that.
Well, it's a good time. You certainly get plenty of track time, that's for sure. A 2 hour and 40-minute race. LMP3 with the last couple of years. Austin Young, the winner last year. Nathan Moore the year before. Cody Death, last year's winner in GT4. Gael Valero was the winner in 2025 in TCR. So they've got loads of different winners in the different categories.
Well, sorry, Peter. I think Corentin Miller might also now have a slowdown here, because look how high he's gone, and he's dropped down to 6. So Aaron Full's now jumped up into the top 5, and Max Cuthbert make that +9.
Well, that's very, very punishing there. If you just get it wrong at the Le Mans chicane, you will be punished. And this is a break now for Jamie Fluke, I would say, and the two leading Delatraz cars of Callian May and Christophe Herbignot. They've got to get a move on now, because they don't want Fluke to catch them. They don't want Fluke to be able to pick up any kind of slipstream at all. The gap right now from Fluke to Herbignot is 1.4 seconds or so. So you think that Fluke will also be trying to push now to try and catch those Delatraz cars, and it won't be long before they reach the TCRs again. In fact, looking at the track map, it's very, very close until the TCRs turn up again. So Fluke will hoping to be a bit more aggressive and try and catch the two Delatraz cars as they hit the next phase of traffic.
Yes, you are correct. Remember, just 11 touring cars in today's race, so small in number. Although, you never know. The fight could be mighty. Ross McFarlane is back in front of Michael Polasek there. I think they're just chopping and changing for fuel reasons, but we have officially now completed about 24 minutes here in the first of our iRacing special events in 2026. It's the iRacing Roar presented by Go Motorsports Shop. Around the outside of one of those TCR machines, Jamie Fluke's going to feel the pressure from Jai Fletcher, who dropped back on the start, but now pushes his way forward. And I was talking to Jai yesterday. He was not sure if he was going to make top split. His I rating was right on the bubble in some regards, but he knew that if he made it, he'd have a chance to compete. And guess what? Showing that for sure. Let's start to take a look at some of the replays, though, Peter. And this is, so initially it is Paris Charles just getting caught up in some of the checkups in towards the chicane.
Yep, just got it all wrong in the mixture of the GT4 traffic in that yellow and black machine. Did he get a help from his teammate?
I think you're right. One more look. On board with Aaron Full.
Oh, that's awkward if that's the case. This will tell us. Oh, yeah.
Well,
oh my, that's bad for Solpeck.
In the
oh dear.
In the defense of Aaron Full, it kind of all just overly slows down, and I can kind of understand why he's caught napping, for lack of a better word. And that is just the curves biting not once but twice there, unfortunately. That could have been much, much worse.
Way worse, yeah. Manages to get it turned back in the right direction before the rest of the GT4s came through. Yeah, I think when you know you're coming up against a big bunch of traffic, you've got to be ready for it to check up, and wasn't even close to being the right speed there. And yeah, but just unlucky to ram into the one car you're going to ram into the back of is your own teammate. So for Solpeck, that kind of takes them out of the mix for the two of them. But Aaron Full has seemingly got away with it. His last lap was a 1:43.5. His best is a 1:43.1. So even with that big impact, they're still pacing the car, which is good for them. TCR, big breakaway. Ross McFarlane and Michael Polasek 9 seconds up the road from the third place car, the number 37 of Manuel Sarel Guay.
I mean, they are two of the best in the touring car realm, like you said. McFarlane, a touring car champion on RaceSpot TV on multiple occasions. Michael Polasek, one of the best in recent times, especially with a little less competition in that car in the last year or so. And so a big gap maybe not to be surprised, especially when they're working together with such great effect. This is a fight, by the way, for 6th position in the LMP3 class, where Casey Kerwin has slowly picked his way back into things and has now cracked his way into the top 9.
Making his way forward, that's really good stuff from Casey Kerwin, because he dropped out of the top 20. Yeah, really dropped right to the back of the field and now making his way forward. Yes, 1 or 2 have fallen by the wayside, but a lot of overtakes made by Casey Kerwin. I'd imagine he'll be a little bit thirstier on the fuel than the rest around him, but that's okay if he's gaining track position and getting himself back into the mix. And seems like the car's got plenty speed in there as well. 143.2 last time by, 142.5 is his best. So he's actually got the fastest lap of the race right now, is Casey Kerwin.
Yeah, we'll look for lap times now that they're through the traffic and see hopefully some consistency, but maybe importantly, your race leaders have now got a breakaway. Jamie Flukes dropped Jai Fletcher into the clutches of Aaron Full. Meanwhile, Callian May and Christophe Herbigno have swapped around, and Herbigno retakes the lead of the race in the Delatraz Automotive machine. And we're probably not terribly far away from entering into a pit stop window. Give it maybe 10 to 15 minutes or so and the prototypes will begin to need a bit of fuel. There's trouble out on track as John Badefer has had to take a tow back to pit lane from on the surface of the track. It's on the surface of the oval, which is never a good sign, Peter, although it's happened around the Le Mans chicane, so maybe it's just some deja vu.
Oh dear, that's a big one there for the Mustang. So easy done there, so easy done. Down to 3rd gear and went away on him early.
Well, they say
John Badefer.
They say loose is fast. It's a bit
fast into the barrier. Yeah.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, but that's also maybe one of the reasons why we're not seeing more of the Mustangs, even though the pace might be there. Maybe that's just one of the inherent balance things that the teams were aware of. The Porsche, of course, maybe a bit more centered in its weight distribution. The Mustang's got most of its weight at the front of the car, you'd say. So just maybe something that some of these teams and drivers were particularly careful when choosing their car with.
Well, the Cayman, you're right, has a fantastic balance to it. You know, with that mid-engine layout, it's got great handling, really nimble little car actually. But normally that means that it gets nailed on the BOP for straight line speed because it's so good in the in the handling characteristics, which you would think wouldn't make it a very good Daytona car, because what do you need a Daytona? Straight line speed. But it appears to have both today, a solid package handling wise, but also seems to have the straight line speed to compete. Cody Death, last year's winner, trying to make it 2 in a row.
And he's having to,
very few people have done in iRacing Roar.
Having to fight his way forward as well after qualifying all the way down in 17th, which at Daytona is not always the worst thing in the world, because you can pick your way forward, but we always know leaves you with a bit more work that you have to do. What's happened here into the International Horseshoe. Alec Bergstrom just gets tagged. Fortunately, could have been a lot worse.
I do like the Sean Creech paint scheme though, that's cool.
Although it's rather reminiscent of what Sean Creech did a lot of the time in that paint scheme. It's neither here nor there. Jai Fletcher really is under pressure though, and with Jamie Fluke closing back up, I think we're probably looking at another 10 laps or so without any sort of traffic. We're in a very interesting phase of the race for these prototype machines.
That we are, yeah. The two Delatraz cars of Christophe Herbigno and Kayla Nye at the front of the field have broken away a tiny bit from Jamie Fluke. They were 1.4, they're now 1.9 ahead of Fluke, so they're working together well. Aaron Full, Solpec car, very, very lucky to be in the position he is after that hit into the back of his teammate, right in behind Jai Fletcher. And if the thing is, if he does have a little bit of damage, that's fine if you can slipstream the car in front. That can make up for any straight line speed deficit that you may have. Looking at the car, looks like he's got away with it really, really well.
Well, and clearly the front of these Ligier P320s a lot more sturdy than the rear, and maybe that's what made the impact so bad for Paris himself.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, you've got to think of the use case for them and their typical customer. So they've got to be built strong.
Oh, we're going to go off into Top Gear land, where we're going to start designing race cars that are as wide as the track, so we can build one that blocks, one that goes. It's not Plan C for combat; it's Plan B for blocking. There were some very inventive ideas on Top Gear, if you really think about it through the years, about what they could do to race cars. Jamie Fluke, like I did mention, though, is only 1.3 seconds off the leaders, so he might even get into drafting range by the time they see the start-finish line once again. Aaron Fool not close enough through the chicane. Can Jamie Fluke find that margin, though, and latch himself on, which will let him stretch his fuel to the end of this stint?
Watching very closely on the timing screen to see who gets what out of the fuel tank of their respective machines, because we've seen many times here in this iRacing Roar where fuel is everything. It's not like a 24 race where it's because it's spread across such a long time. You know, yes, it's great if you can fuel save, but generally there's lots of things that can happen during a 24-hour race that does even it out. But in a race like this, only 2 hours 24. It's a little bit more pertinent that if you can put if you can get a lap longer on your stint, it can really make a difference, because you're only going to come into the pits a couple of times. So what are we thinking? Are we thinking, oh no, that's a good point, will the GT4s get home with just one stop?
Well, so I just did, as you are about to do, I just did a 2-hour commentary stint on our other broadcast today on RaceSpot TV, the 24-hour series esports championship. The GT4 cars had a 75% limit on their fuel tank, and they could only do, they're racing at Sebring, just for context, they could only do about 45, just shy of 50 minutes. So extrapolating from that, if they can get an hour and 12, it requires a bit of fuel saving, but it's possible.
Oh, it's tight. Yeah, you think if it's 45 minutes, 75%, then that would mean 100% would be an hour. So, and Sebring's not as fuel heavy as Daytona is. Oh, it would be miraculous. But how many times have we been surprised by teams and how they can just pull a joker out the pack in strategy terms? We've seen it many times. Now, gap coming down at the front of the field. Jamie Fluke now just 1.3. He's taken half a second out the leader. So Jamie Fluke is on the move, and that Mustang is on the move to the barrier. Is it? Stop! Oh, ooh. Just.
Zach Ratteray-White in the Eclipse Sim Sports number 33. Smokes the tires, heats them up, but fortunately it could have been worse. We've seen plenty of incidents actually into that tire bundle in previous iRacing Daytona 24s. One thing that has changed is previously drivers were allowed to run wide of the white line, which in the real world you would never do because of the marble accumulation. In the sim, you can kind of get away with it. And so maybe that's also tightening up the entry into turn number one. Something for us to think about a little bit more when we head into the madness of next weekend's racing. The 24 Hours of Daytona powered by VCO. Jamie Fluke is not just in the draft at this point, but he's got a decision to make. Does he save fuel? Does he push to take the lead?
Well, I think he's making great forward progress right now. He's now in the slipstream, albeit very light, but he is getting a slipstream now from Christophe Herbignon and Kylan May ahead of him. And if they get held up again coming into the bus stop here into the Le Mans chicane, they may well do. And look at, fuel saving, but oh, that's Christmas Day for Jamie Fluke. There's a TCR car there, and the two Delatraz cars couldn't do anything about it. They had to just hold the line. And now look at Fluke, he's right behind them now, just 4/10 off the back of Kylan May, and that will mean that he can pick up the slipstream there. So we have a 3-car bunch at the front of the field, and I think we're going to see some bump drafting here from Delatraz. Oh, what a surprise.
I tell you what, Jai Fletcher 1.6 back, that is only a couple of tenths away from draft, and so if the touring cars check these leaders up, They shuffle to the outside through the opening corner. There's Andre Castro in the mix in that BS Plus hybrid machine, which unfortunately is just a white car with the logo slapped on the side of it and showing some of the battle scars as well. The front hood crinkled on that Audi RS3. They'll slip in front of Manuel Saralagui, and now with some clean air once again, because third on back in TCR, now 10 seconds off the lead.
The three LMP3 leaders get their way through, and Fluke, what a great few laps he's had. He's now right on the case of these two Delatraz machines. Now, how far away are they from their first pit stop? And now Fluke can actually be a bit more relaxed. He's now made that gap up. He can now sit in the slipstream. He doesn't have to take major risks. The only thing is he just has to be careful not to get caught out in traffic, where you could get a 50-50 situation going into Le Mans chicane where the two Delatraz cars get past and he doesn't, and then you've got to do all the hard work again. So if just planning that ahead is so important, and a lot of it is luck.
Yes.
A lot of it comes into it is luck, where you catch the traffic, and that's just part of it.
Yeah, and luck is something that in some ways you can manufacture your own luck, right? When you are more experienced, you can look further down the road to see, right, if I'm in this corner and I see that car exiting, if I do this, I'll catch them somewhere that's a little bit better. So there is a bit of an art to that you develop over time, but some of it is just luck. How long does someone take in pit lane? Do they accidentally take 5 seconds longer because the left front took a couple of seconds extra? That is stuff that is completely out of your control. GT4s, if they can get to the end with just one stop, there is one driver who's in trouble in my mind here. That's Moritz Lohner, punching the hole in the air for the rest of the field.
You're right, yeah, he's led the whole way, so he could easily, when we come out of the pits, lose 3 or 4 positions because he's used way more fuel than those in the train behind him. He will take longer to fill up, or he won't be able to do as many laps on his stint, so he'll have to duck into the pits, whereas the others can carry on and do another lap on lower fuel. So we'll watch it closely. They've got at the very least 20 minutes left on their stint in GT4. Big lifting coast there for the BS competition Porsche.
And the deeper you are, more saving you can do as well. So it's not the end of the day for someone like a Cody Deeth, who is still back in 9th, unfortunately, or 8th, excuse me. In some ways, unfortunately, behind the still somewhat spotty internet of Morgan Burkhardt. And that is opening up the gap, actually, I think. Morgan, his pace is not dropping off, but it's just the uncertainty from those around as to how much they can race. Liam McNeely's feeling like he needs to go aggressive. He's trying to pass Martin Toth in the Altitude 3M car. He goes up high. Not going to quite work. And Toth in the red and black Porsche holds stern as they work through the chicane that leads to the International Horseshoe. Closing on some touring car traffic as well. Pops to the outside now. Does Damon Woods in the Falcon sim racing machine. Some great racing starting to build. Have they started to do a bit less fuel saving?
Maybe. Yeah, Damon Woods is looking racy, he's trying to maneuver his way forward. A big Mustang in all those Porsches, trying to make their way around a sole TCR car, trying to keep out of the way. But Lohner managed to just grab a car length or so, going up towards turn 6 now. And yeah, Damon Woods has gone through into, no he hasn't, excuse me, no, into 4th, but he's looking menacing in that Falcon Mustang.
It's a menacing figure as well, isn't it? It's a slightly bigger GT4 car in some ways, but ultimately with the way the BOP aligns the machinery in multi-class manufacturer racing, it's not necessarily such a struggle. Quick look at what's happened to Matthias Penteler in that RD SimSport machine. Now, that already looks like something's not right, doesn't it?
All set up there. Yeah, not right. Oh,
it's
yeah,
the right
it's all
front.
bent out shape. Yeah.
It's like it's turned inwards or something.
But he's going to give it up. That's it.
Well,
and in a race as short as this, I mean, it's once you get something like that, might be why we're seeing quite a lot of retirements. We've had 3, 6, 9 retirements already in the first half an hour.
let's take a look at what happened here. Oh, he's going to get sandwiched. There's an LMP3 car, Adam State, I think that is, that goes one side, Jack Sedgwick on the other. Castro gets tagged again. Oh, I mean, this is the thing with prototypes that I often say. They can be a bit impatient and sometimes cause a bit of chaos.
They can, yeah, and it's the thing is as well is that there's, with it being the LMP3 car as well, it's not quite as straightforward getting through in some cases. Yes, they've got superior lap time, but they need the clear air ahead of them to be able to do that. But they don't have that punch of power to just make the quick passes like if you're in a GTP car. You know, one of the top prototypes where you've got a lot more horsepower, you can use that to squirt on the straights and get past, and you've got good braking as well. But then when you get into the slower speed, then of course it's more difficult. But the LMP3 is this difficult car to get through the traffic, particularly GT4, because as we see now, the GT4s they're really galloping and they're quite slippery through the air and they've got good horsepower, whereas the LMP3 is kind of like a slightly draggy cheese wedge of a car, so it just sort of hits a kind of stall in the air and makes it really difficult to make passes on the banking.
Let's take a look at another moment that's just developed on the banking as Romain Beauclerc tries to pass a GT4 car.
Dear.
Well, now that is going to be big, yes. And who else gets involved? Nicholas Laubish was trying to slip through, I think. Oh my goodness, one more look at the initial incident and then we'll take a look on board with Laubish.
Seemed to chop down on him. Oh, they both sort of converged into one another. Oh dear, oh dear.
Ugh. I mean, to be fair to Nicholas, he saw that there was some faster class machines coming down the inside, so he didn't have the choice of pulling left as much as he would have wanted to. Tried to split the middle, gets tangled up. The danger of multi-class racing, and it's something I would have saved for next week because we don't have all the relevant classes on track. But I often say, Peter, GTP stands for going to pass, LMP2 stands for let me pass, and GTD stands for going to die. And it's just something that I've built up over years of experience in sim racing for the most part.
What would GS be then?
Well, so is it in this...
Getting slipstreamed.
Oh, yes, probably. It depends if we're talking real world or sim racing GS, because in the real world, obviously, Peter, GS cars in Michelin Pilot Challenge are the fastest class. They don't have to deal with LMP3 machines. Instead, what happens is sometimes there are some GS cars that are actually a bit slower, and so the fastest TCR cars end up getting slowed down by those GS machines.
Thinking really hard what TCR would be.
Well,
Answers on a postcard, folks. Let us know what would the acronym you would use for TCR and GS, and if it's broadcastable, we will read it out on air.
our good friend Samuel Aurora always called TCR racing totally chaotic racing, which pretty apt.
Oh, that's good. I like that one. Yeah.
See,
GS, gonna send it. I like that. Good one, Mike Wolf TV.
That is good. I'm not creative enough. There's one in one of the YouTube chats that I definitely cannot say out loud, so apologies. It's not a bad one. It's just I would get myself immediately taken off air. Oh, I'm trying to be witty, but it's a hard ask, especially at 8:30 in the morning when I've already done a couple of hours of commentary before this. But yes, answers on a postcard, and we will save the best for next week. iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona, nighttime hour discussion topic. Slightly separated, though, Peter, at the front of LMP3. We've just had one driver down to pit lane. I'm not sure if this means the rest of the class will be due in, but it's probably not a bad time yet to hit traffic once again.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it should be okay to do that. Hour and 37 minutes. They're getting into the business end of the race already. Herbigno and Kylan May, they've made a little bit of a breakaway from Jamie Fluke. So as the traffic has ebbed and flowed, and in fact, Jamie Fluke has got company, big-time company, from Jai Fletcher, from Aaron Fool, and from Casey Kirwan.
Wow.
Could we see the Danny Sullivan spin and the win for Casey Kirwan? I don't think it's off the cards.
I think the issue is going to be fuel saving, because Casey probably has not had a chance to do much of that on his recovery drive, but he is 4 seconds off the lead, which, make that 3 by the way now, that is remarkable to say after what happened to him slightly earlier. I believe he's working with the crew at Solpec Precision Racing for this event as well, so he's got a good team behind him. Solpec Precision, one of the teams in the last couple of IMSA Esports Global Championships that have really stood out in the GTP class, and I would argue in 2024 they were more consistent than Coanda were with the Porsche GTP machine, which is a very high bar to try and match up to. Unfortunately, the most recent season, Porsche Coanda, if they hadn't been tangled up in an incident in the opening round of the season, would have finished no lower than 2nd in 4 races. So hard to beat that level of consistency, but once again, another solid season for Aaron Full, for Garrett Berry, for Max Muir, Robin Schwanker, and there's one driver whose name I am forgetting, and I apologize profusely to you for that. But again, another impressive season to say the least. No one else into pit lane just yet, though. Corentin Millero, I think he had some damage, Peter, from some of the early drama. He is one, though, of the Delatraus automotive machines that has come down to pit lane.
Hey, yeah, must have been desperate for that, maybe damage-wise. As the rest of the field coming through, 28 laps they've completed. So they've been on track for coming up for 50 minutes, and the leaders come through. So there's still time. Now Herbigno has made a bit of a break.
So I wonder if he's not saving fuel, because last lap for him was 1.2 seconds quicker than the rest. And 3 wide off the corner. Fluke dropped to the back of the pack. Casey Kirwan suddenly in a podium position. Jai Fletcher, though, will look to the inside and force Kirwan to give up the room. Fletcher grabs 3rd away from him. Aaron Full's back there and up towards the kink. It's not somewhere you want to fly side by side. And single file they get once more.
Order restored. Christophe Herbigno, making a bit of a break. That would maybe signify to me that he could be coming in at the end of this lap. I'm thinking, right, we know that we're going to the end of this lap and no more, so just keep pushing. But what a run this has been from Casey Kirwan. That spin and recovery, remarkable to even get anywhere close to the podium positions. By the end of this stint is just really, really impressive for Casey. Does like prototype machinery. I remember him driving very well in the Cadillac in the IMSA Esports Championship last season. Yep.
Now he has fallen in love with IMSA effectively through sim racing in many ways. He goes out to Long Beach every year. He'll be at Daytona, I would assume, as well, hopefully, if he can make it out there. Saw him there last year with a whole bunch of other sim racers too. Word in chat, by the way, the Solpec Precision driver I forgot was Jordan Johnson. Jordan, I apologize. I still somehow think of you, I guess, as an Apex Racing Team driver. That's the only excuse that I can have for that. 2.2 seconds the gap at the line between Herbigno and those behind. But it seems as though that gap is starting to shrink just as quickly as it grew. So onto the 30th lap of the stint. Yet to see anyone except 2 of these LMP3 machines still running down onto pit lane. Let's jump back to GT4 momentarily, Peter. If they can get to the end with just 1 stop, well, they've got a lot more fuel saving left to do. They need to get another 20 or so minutes out of the fuel tank.
Well, they're looking strong at the moment. I mean, you think for Moritz Lohner, he's the one who is exposed, having led all the way through, and will definitely have used quite a bit more fuel than those behind him. I still think Damon Woods in that Mustang is looking very, very menacing indeed. There's almost a little bit of a start to break with the formation for a moment. I think we saw it in LMP3 a little bit more side-by-side action, and I think the same is about to happen in GT4. A little bit more shuffling for position, because they've been very disciplined up to now, but they're racers. They will eventually break rank.
There was a change for second in through turn 1 as Liam McNeely got in front of Martin Toth. So maybe there is a bit of pulling of the trigger. Aaron Full has lost the rear wing on the LMP3 car, and Max Cuthbert's had to jink up high because Ross McFarlane, Michael Polasek, our touring car leaders, directly in front. The Le Mans chicane has bitten once again, and this time from inside of the front 5, and so this is a forced pit stop. There is no question about that. This is how it happened. Fast entry into the chicane, curbs on either side that will eat the car up, but it all happens on the exit as the left side jumps into the air.
Oh dear. I didn't think that the Peugeot 9X8 was coming to iRacing yet.
Well, I think part of what happens, Peter, is almost like the left wheel digs into the void in the curbing itself, if you know what I mean. The gap between the distinct parts of the curb itself.
Yeah, it's really tricky there. We've seen many drivers be caught out. Nah, GT4's in. Okay, so there's your answer. Not even an hour. Not even close to an hour. 53 minutes.
Well, no one is going to be able to get to the end, I would guess, then, based on this. That was definitely a question in previous years, though, so I don't think it was a totally unreasonable discussion for us to entertain. Now, something you and O'Leary and myself were discussing earlier. On the jacks go the cars, and fuel and tires done at the same time, which does remove some of the element of strategy, yes, but it means that they'll all get 4 fresh Michelin tires, a full tank of fuel, and off and away they will go once again. Peter, that looks like a very busy pit lane right now. All but 3 of the GT4 machines sit and wait for the full tank of fuel.
Yeah, the drivers who have gone an extra lap are the number 8 of Liam McNeely, number 16 of Andre Philippe Villela, and the number 6 of Alberto Senau. Now, amazingly, quite amazingly, Moritz Lohner has managed to get out ahead of all of the GT4. So was he managing his fuel use so well and actually backing the pace up for that reason? And we've seen Damon Woods make up a couple of spots there on the pit cycle. But the only question is, has Moritz Lohner filled
big
the fuel tank, or
Martin Toth up the inside of Elliot Badinsky. Sorry there, Peter, because he saw his opportunity through traffic with those LMP3 cars. And while Damon Woods made up the spot in pit lane, Martin Toth does it on track.
Oh, well, just by doing that, though, they potentially could lose the scent of the top 2. Maybe not. No, they should be okay, actually. But Damon Woods now right in behind race leader Moritz Lohner, and that's the Moritz Lohner. Did he fill the tank full, or did he just nip a couple of litres off at the end just to try and keep that track position?
Well,
if he did, he's got to work hard on the fuel in the second stint. Just
looking at the pit stop time, Peter, which is 48.2 seconds for Moritz Lohner, 47.1 for Damon Woods. I think we can see there he didn't short fuel by much, if any, and so with the fact that the tire update that the car had to better align it with the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge recently, maybe that's been a part of this as well, because we know there the cars don't go much beyond the top of an hour, and even then that's a stretch for them. May, Fletcher, Kerwin, they're in from the front. Herbigno, Fluke, they're the ones that are able to extend.
Wow, shows you that they've got pace to spare then. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed.
Now, can we grab a better look? Yes, if I click the right button, we can grab a camera angle that shows that no tire is being put onto these cars.
Okay, so obviously not wanting to go out and have that horrible typical Daytona tiptoe out of the pits on cold tires, which has caught many drivers out. So Christophe Herbigno, race leader, and a guy who's been at the front for a lot of the time, has gone a lot longer.
Ooh.
So is Jamie Fluke, and so is Daniel Lomba.
We've got a difference on strategy, though, as we see the GT4 battles bottom of your screen. Casey Kerwin, I think, has recognized that he is on a different strategy now to the rest of the class, because it's about 5-6 seconds shorter than May in pit lane. It's about 7 seconds shorter than Jai Fletcher. So even the Delatraz teammates have gone slightly different on strategy. And Peter, you cannot see the smile on my face, but I promise you it is from ear to ear right now, because I love these sort of races when strategy makes a difference. Onto the banking, it's clumsy between some of our GT4 machinery, and Liam McNally's lost out slightly.
So when you think about it, there's an hour and 27, hour and 28 minutes to go. Their stint time is about 56 minutes for a full tank. So you're basically got 1.5, really, give or take, stints left in the race. But of course, you can split up 1.5 in two ways. You can split it up into 0.75, two 0.75s, or a 1 and a 0.5. So it seems that Casey Kerwin's going to go for the 2.75 stints, if you like, and the rest are going to go one full stint and then a splash and go at the end. So who's got it right? We won't know until really the next hour and 26 minutes comes in.
And that is why the smile on my face is so big. Here is the driver in pit lane just sitting and waiting. It's a painful wait as well at the end of the day, as just fuel seemingly going in. Casey Kerwin has got a big advantage, and Jamie Fluke has responded and joined Casey Kerwin on that slightly shorter field. 32.3 seconds for him, 42 seconds for Herbigno. Where's Casey Kerwin then as he rolls off the banking into turn 1? Clear of Herbigno, about 4 seconds back from Jamie Fluke with an hour and 25 minutes to go, about an hour complete. Nothing settled in the first iRacing special event of the year.
Jamie Fluke going 10 seconds shorter than Herbigno. Wow. Okay. So there is a real spread there of different fuel strategies. And of course, that doesn't mean then that they're all in one big bunch. It means that it's actually, and I'm smiling too, Arjuna, because this actually means more of who's actually got the raw pace rather than who's the best at fuel saving. This is more about actual pure lap time now. Yes, fuel usage will be important, of course, but because they're not in a big bunch, that will really, really open up the deck big time.
The word in chat is LMP3 tyres are still on a slightly older tyre model, so they don't lose as much pace as the stint goes on. The tyres actually don't cost you speed. You gain time as you go deeper into the run. Fastest lap we'll see from LMP3 cars might be at the very end of the fuel tank. So Andre Villela has taken the lead of the race in GT4. Remember, still expecting one more pit stop in this class. Moritz Lohner, Damon Woods, second and third, with Martin Toth, Elliot Budzinski, and then Liam McNeely effectively leading the second of the chasing groups, with Alex Nogue, Roberto Friesen, Morgan Burkhardt, and defending winner in class, Cody Deeth, buried all the way back in 10th position.
Right then, with the number 2 machine in the GS category, Cody Deeth, last year's winner, back in 10th, but one of the drivers that took maybe, yeah, sort of in the middle in terms of fuel usage or fuel taken on board. TCR's the next question, but to be honest, for Ross McFarlane and Michael Polishek, they're in another universe to everyone else. And Jack Sedgwick, having had that incident on the opening lap, he's up to third.
Well, speaking of those TCR leaders, they've just seen this, which is Max Cuthbert, who had been having a great day moving through the field. Momentum slightly halted. Seemingly minimal damage to the left side of the car. So he's gotten away with that one. And let's focus in on the leaders then momentarily. 31 laps into the stint. Sedgwick, the one chasing them down. And last lap, it was Sedgwick that lost about 0.3 of a second. I love the fact that they've gone in two different manufacturers as well, which does mean that they haven't been working together to build the car up. There is a little bit of a rivalry even between the teammates.
Hyundai versus Honda, Korea versus Japan, but in the same team. Two drivers that probably know these cars inside and out. They'll have a good setup data for them, and yeah, the fact that they can work together, and they're spreading their bet effectively. Of if there's one car that's going to be a little bit better on fuel, they've got that advantage. They're kind of covering all bases here, but if they've got the pace in hand, clearly, to be much quicker than the rest of the field, and have marched away, and it's WSR Esports race to lose now. It's just which of them wins, who's got the package for that final sprint to the flag.
And we aren't ignoring them, I promise you. It's just the reality is they are sitting and waiting, biding their time before putting on a show to the end. At least that's what we've been promised. Hopefully they live up to the billing. LMP3 is wide open, though. That is the reality. With the strategy opening up, we'll come down to the next pit stop before we can really knuckle down a winning strategy. Track position is something that will dictate some of that time lost and gained in traffic, and much like we were saying earlier, that's not something you can always find yourself impacting yourself. While we continue to watch some of the action, this is not fights between cars on the same lap. Callian May slips in front of one of the GT4 machines and gives himself a bit more breathing room. Peter, there's a great story that I always love when we come to Daytona for a Roar to talk about. And yes, it's only a couple of years ago now, but in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge race back in 2024, there was a team that had an ECU failure, unfortunately, the day before the race. They didn't have a spare ECU on site, so what did they do? They call around and try and find the nearest replacement they can. Turned out they were able to find one from a team based in Mexico. So someone flew from Mexico to Orlando. They sent one of the drivers from Daytona to Orlando, which on the best of days, typically about a 2-hour drive. I assume it probably took closer to an hour for this driver on the day itself. But they pick up the CCU from the airport, shuttle it back to the track, install it effectively on the grid, and then go on to win the race. It's just a reminder of the fact that in motorsports, there's not just the drivers on track that get things done. There's the team behind the scenes that comes together to make things happen.
I remember that day very well. I'll never forget it. JDC Miller Motorsports, and yeah, it was Mikey Taylor who did the Need for Speed run to Orlando Airport. It came off it was an Audi that they ran at the time. They went on to win the championship too. It came off a crashed Cupra, but the Cupra ECU worked on the Audi, and they'd been grappling with it all week. They tried everything, and it was quite literally the last resort, and yeah, it paid off. It's one of my favourite Daytona stories as well. JDC Miller Motorsport showing no quit at all.
And of course, what a great representative for motorsports, right? That never say no attitude. And JDC at the end of last year, during Petit Le Mans, Peter and I were both privileged to be there as part of the IMSA radio broadcast team, but they ran with the iRacing Arcade logo on the car as part of a promotion for the upcoming title, but also ran the very, very quick and very capable iRacer / real racer Max Esterson, who will be competing in a full season in the 2026 IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, albeit with RLL in a McLaren. One of the other real-world drivers in today's race, unfortunately, I think, has been mixed up in a bit of an incident here, Peter. And so Morgan Burkhardt, I think he's fighting here with Cody Deeth as they slip up to the second of the horseshoes, and unfortunately, things go wrong.
Oh, and one of the Delatraz cars there having to go and take a lot of avoiding action. Cody Deeth, last year's winner, right behind them and gets away with it, does he? Yes, just synchronized spins from the Porsche. I mean, it's a 9 out of 10 for me for synchronization, that's for sure.
I think that was Roberto Freezer in this second car, that Mustang involved. The Cayman, the 21, the Mustang coming to a stop, avoiding any further drama. The GT4 pack slightly broken up as a result of that. It's Alex Noguet now in charge of chasing down Lohner, Woods, Toth and Budzinski. They have slowly closed the margin to Andre Villet at the front of the field, though, Peter. He's in a very interesting spot right now, the fiercely forward driver, because he's got the benefit of no pressure, but also loses out because no one's bumping him from behind. He's not getting any drafting help either as well.
No, and he's not. He's out on his own. I mean, took a little bit shorter fuel fill than the rest of the field, although he went a lap longer yes, he did. Yeah, he was one of the cars that went a lap longer on the fuel, so he's using that advantage right now. So actually his fuel that he's got in the tank might not be that different to what's in Moritz Lohner's tank, because of course he went that lap longer. Now the TCRs, they're still cracking on. They've been on this stint for 34 laps, and of course we're not far away from half race distance. That will be in 4 minutes time. So if these if the TCR cars can go for another 2 laps, they can get home with just one stop.
Well, we have seen TCR machines with unrestricted tanks go as far as 90 minutes previously. I don't think there is no, there is not. I'm just looking at the BOP. There is no fuel capacity limit for these TCRs, so they should actually be pitting in about 20 minutes time, if my memory serves correct. BOP, just to quickly talk about it, because we have a Honda Civic, a Hyundai Veloster at the front of the field. The Honda Civic has got 5 kilos of weight. They've both been hit with some power reductions. The Honda Civic with 1%, the Hyundai Veloster with 1.25. Obviously, it's hard to directly compare them because they will drive slightly differently, and so that's some of the characteristics that will be slightly different. But fundamentally, Peter, all the touring cars do use the same engine. Some of the mappings might be slightly different that they use, but there shouldn't be too much difference in terms of power output.
Shouldn't be, no. Usually around 350 horsepower from these 4-cylinder turbo-charged engine. I mean, I guess you could say, is there a slight difference in aerodynamic profile? Obviously, the wheelbase is slightly different for the Honda compared to the Hyundai Veloster. So, yeah, that's why little adjustments are made. Sedgwick, sitting in 3rd place, got a big train behind him, led by Andre Castro in that Audi, which has seen better days. The front of that car a little bit disfigured.
I think you're being polite there, Peter, if I'm being completely honest with you. Yes, although could be worse. We've seen much worse condition Audis. If you see the inside of the radiator like we did there, that's when, you know, things have got particularly bad. Sedgwick and Castro do a bit of bump drafting. Andre Castro, part of that BS Plus hybrid crossover. He's done some racing both in NASCAR Xfinity, which now it's 2026. I have to call it NASCAR O'Reilly. Excuse me. I apologize for that. But also in the road to Indy, some of the USF Junior racing as well. So he's one of these drivers, Peter, which is true of a lot of the modern generation of up-and-coming drivers, who are capable of driving anything you put them in.
Yeah, and they're just looking for competitive time and looking how they can further their career journey, really. And some drivers, they call it gym and sim. That's what they've got to do in their off time when they're not racing. Well, I would think gym, sim, and sponsorship, I think, are the three things that are what they need to always work on when they're not actually in the car. I think someone like Lauren Heinrich or Aichan Guven, they are probably two of the best examples of drivers that have combined their real-world driving with their sim driving to develop their career. Now, Max Verstappen is an obvious one as well, but you know he'd already made it when he really got into sim racing, shall we say. Whereas for Aichan and for Lauren, they were definitely the sim racing aspect was part of their development, growing their profile, but also their competitive experience as well, and have definitely played a factor in their career journey.
And Porsche has been one of the manufacturers that increasingly has recognized that importance. And so the most recent Porsche Junior selection process, that, by the way, is an LMP3 car chinking one way then the other and making me very, very nervous. But the most recent selection process featured a day at the Porsche Esports Center where the drivers were tested against some of the sim racers. They were compared against the likes of a Josh Rogers, a Charlie Collins, and that tells you a lot, not just about Porsche's commitment to sim racing and its place on the motorsports ladder, but how highly they regard their sim racing drivers as well. But for Flint Schuring and for Marcus Amond, who are the 2 Porsche Junior drivers for 2026, part of what made them such a standout candidate, from what I understand, was their effort in the sim. And then, Peter, we got to see them 4 days after the Porsche Night of Champions, after they're announced as Porsche Juniors. We got to see them in the IMSA Esports Global Championship, racing against the best in the world of sim racing. And while it didn't go all their own way, I will never forget Marcus Amond qualifying inside of the top 5 in a truly competitive sim racing event, and then going on to run one of the most competitive first stints I've ever seen from a real world racing driver. That includes Max Verstappen, by the way.
So mighty impressive. I'd like it to see it go the other way. Why not invite one of the Porsche sim racing drivers into the junior shootout? I think that would be cool to see someone like Josh Rogers get the chance to go and drive some of the real world machinery. I'd like to see that. I think that would be very, very interesting. Car number 1, Damon Woods, right on the case of Moritz Lohner. This is for second place, of course. Andre Philippe Villela 3 seconds up the road, but on a slightly different strategy. But how different, hard to say. He did go a lap longer in the opening stint. He was able to stretch that fuel tank a little bit more. How much of an advantage has that given him? That is the question.
Well, you can still hear lots of fuel saving on board of Woods and Lohner, so I think they are trying to minimize the amount of time they'll spend in pit lane next time. Let's just listen in here as we run to the Le Mans chicane. We split the touring cars down the middle. He's lifting a good 130 meters before they get to the actual braking point.
Definitely. Yeah. And you would then say that so is Moritz Lohner in front of him.
Yes. So they're working together on that fuel number. So again, it comes down to that final stint. We really can't make too many statements in the here and now right now. Bit of a gap building though between these drivers and those behind. So it might end up being a 4-car fight if Villela finds himself needing a bit too much time in pit lane relative to these drivers in the final sequence. Let's go back up to LMP3 momentarily and just run our way through. 10 minutes away from entering the final 60 minutes of action. It's Jamie Fluke that leads with Casey Kerwin. A remarkable fight back up through the field to jump up into second, although on a very different strategy than Christophe Herbigno, Callian May, Johnny Fletcher, and indeed the entirety of the Delatraz Automotive contingent. If they spent 10 seconds longer in pit lane, well, the gap between first and third, it's about 12 seconds, 11 seconds as they cross the line right now.
We'll only really know who's got what in terms of track position once they come out of the pits, who's played it the best, who's got the fuel numbers right, who's split their pit stops up in the right way. Jamie Fluke does lead the race right now, but went on a very short fuel fill compared to the rest. So he could, well, he's taken almost a quarter off the theoretical stint length. So he might have to pit with around an hour to go. No, that can't be right. No, that wouldn't be right. He would need to pit somewhere within that sort of 56, 55 minutes to go, and then take a full fuel tank.
so maybe not too far away. By the way, on your screen right now is a QR code to get the official Cosworth Pi toolbox for iRacing telemetry, and you'll have access this weekend, or next weekend I should say, as part of the iRacing Daytona 24 to a lot of the tools that are used by real-world teams. Now, a lot of drivers are familiar with Motec and looking at data after some of these races, but the opportunity for you to dive into some of that stuff during a race in your preparation as well using some of these tools, well, make sure you scan that QR code to learn more about Cosworth Pi Toolbox. Great to see some more of those partnerships step forward, because at the end of the day, Peter, it's not just about the racing. There's so much engineering stuff that can carry forward in terms of building minds that are able of thinking in unique and abstract ways to solve engineering solutions. And this Thursday, we kicked off the most recent season of the IndyCar Thrustmaster iRacing Pro Series. One of the drivers, Adam Blocker, he is a race engineer. Last year, he was at Juncos Hollinger Racing on Connor Daly's number 76. This year, he's moved over to Chip Ganassi Racing. Will be working in Indy next, but he's a capable race engineer, very quick on the track in the virtual world as well.
Has been for many years, hasn't he? You've raced against him in the past, haven't you?
Yes, and he beat me so much, I made him my teammate so I could call him teammate instead of losing to him.
Yeah, well, hey, if you can't beat them, join them.
Exactly.
Or join me. If I can't beat you, join me. Well, I was beaten by Ryan Marine on Wednesday night in the Kelly Moore Sim Racing, so...
So, are we going to do a go-karting outing at Daytona? IMSA Radio?
We have to. Yes.
It's only
we
fair.
have to.
Only fitting. We're saving the golf till Sebring.
Can I get some BOP?
Are we going to weigh everybody and start talking BOP and ballast and all of that good stuff?
Yes.
Oh, goodness, I've opened a Pandora's box, haven't I?
Well, I reckon I've got to be 40 kilos, maybe even 50 kilos heavier than Ryan. That's quite a lot in a go-kart.
Yes. Ryan, to be clear, is a bit smaller than Peter in size. Height.
He's like a jockey.
Yes. See, my problem is I am long, but I don't weigh a lot, so I wouldn't get much ballast, but I wouldn't fit in a lot of the go-karts that we're going to go sit in. So I'm getting my racing excuses out early for when I don't win this IMSA Radio battle on go-karts. What I'll have to do is save it for the golf. And the second, Hugo Luis... What are we calling it?
The Hugo Luis Salver.
Hugo Luis Salver will be played the week before Sebring 12-hour as we settle the pride of who's the best golfer at RaceSpot TV. Moritz Lohner, by the way, while we've been keeping our eye on these four that we think are maybe the most likely to be in contention at the end, they have started to catch back up to our race leader.
Interesting, yes. Very interesting. The gap coming down in P3 and in GS. So is it all starting to converge now? The GT4s, they do about a 53-minute stint, so that's where their pit window will effectively open to get to the end of the race. So anytime really after 11 or 12 minutes, any longer than 11, 12 minutes time, that's when the pit window will open. You can come in and fuel up and go to the end. But some, of course, will have more fuel in the tank to go deeper into the stint if they want to.
We'll say that Christophe Herbigno has shaved 2 seconds or so off of Jamie Fluke in the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I wonder if Fluke is saving a bit of fuel and is keeping a bit in reserve for strategy in the closing stages. The fiercely forward GT4 leading Porsche is now almost inside of drafting range, at which point 5 will become 6. And Liam McNeely has jumped to the front of the second chasing pack and in front of Alex Noguet, also in one of the Porsche Caymans. Cody Deeth then directly behind, of course, previous race winner. Some work to do. Alex Noguet, first time I've just noticed this, by the way, Peter. Oh, as that's not on, Liam McNeely almost runs a TCR car. Jack Sedgwick out of the way. Cedric's not one to take that standing down, and Nogue sweeps through. Just noticed that Alex Nogue, brand new team, he's joined up with the great guys over at Grid and Go.
Off-season or winter transfer window, I suppose you could say. Yeah, a little bit messy there going up into turn 6. Liam McNeely now in behind Alex Nogue. Lost a position or so, but Cody Deeth also there in the Mustang in 8th place. Yeah, a relatively quiet day for Cody. Does he have something up his sleeve? He'll need it to try and get up into the leading conversation. Another look then at what happened with Liam McNeely. So he's right behind Cedric. Cedric holds his line, and yeah, I think McNeely should have really just had to go around there, but said, "Oh, I was thinking he was almost trying to barge him and get him to move out the way."
I think there's two different things that are playing out there. As Alberto Senna tries to wash out slightly and pays the price. You know, I think Jack's probably thinking, I've got an LMP3 car that's already on my right. The GT4 car is going to follow, whereas the GT4 car is thinking TCR car is going to go back and follow the racing line. And this is where, Peter, in top split competition, the traditional talk in traffic of slower cars holding your racing line, it is not true, because there is a lot more conversation on track in the body language of cars that happens at this level. And so Jack Cedric's thinking, let me just stay to the side, I'll stay out of the way, and everyone's going to pull to the right. Slight miscommunication there.
Yeah, I think I would have done what Jack Cedric did there, to be honest. You know, you're running out to that curb anyway. You see there's cars everywhere, all on your right-hand side. Probably not a good time to swerve to the right, is it?
No.
Even if that is the racing line. So they're like you said, the prototypes have committed to their side. You hold your line, which is the exit of the curb, and let them go around. So yeah, it was luckily they all got through without too much of a fuss. A little bit of a fuss, but not too much.
And so now
Gap coming down at the front of the field as well.
For sure. Casey Kerwin's within 2 seconds. Remember, he will have a slightly longer pit stop than both Jamie Fluke and Christophe Herbigno to serve in the last sequence. Mark Sloaner is sniffing the first bits of draft as well, and this will help him when an LMP3 car chops in between and latches you on to the class leader. Damon Woods continuing to be very patient, though. He could have had a couple of opportunities to maybe try and slip past, but priority clearly here, Peter, close the gap to the leader.
Yep, that's what it's all about. Yeah, they don't really want to get caught out by the alternative strategy of Andre Philippe Villela. So they have to be careful not to compromise each other's run, each other's momentum, and try and work together to close that gap down. And it's working right now, because Villela is only a second ahead, which of course means that they're pretty close to picking up a slipstream from him. So Moritz Lohner in a decent position now, and of course he took 4 seconds of fuel more at the stop. Now, is there that much of an advantage though, given that Villela went a lot longer? Well, we'll see when they come out of the pitch. It's getting close to the first pit window opening, which would be the LMP3s, where they can pit and get to the end, but that's still another lap or two, I would say.
You say that, I think we might actually get some TCR pit stops, because the couple towards the tail end have just peeled in, Agustin Fernandez and Ayrton Reutemann. Unless there's significant damage, I think this could open the window. Timo Milikangas hits the back of Jai Fletcher so hard, you could actually see, I think, one of the cars go up in the air momentarily. Such was the force exerted between these LMP3 machines. Back towards some traffic they will go. 5 seconds off of the car in front of them. I think they're about halfway through the fuel run right now for the Delatraz automotive drivers, who, remember, we think took full tanks of fuel compared to the rest. Don't hit that yellow line. Don't dive onto the apron. You saw just how unsettled it got. Timo Milikangas with quick hands.
If they're LMP3 taking a lot of risk, and you're putting a lot in the hands of the GT4s. Yeah, in come the TCRs then for their first stop of the race after an hour and 26 minutes out there on track.
Only stop
filling
as well.
up with fuel. Yes.
You'd hope. Any TCR that needs 2 stops, Peter, has had a bad day, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. You and I tell you what, the BS competition hybrid machine of which car is that's the Audi coming in. That's Andre Castro, 35. He might get has he got time to get a bit of repair? Will that front damage get bashed back into shape?
Well, very interesting
a little bit.
In the battle of the teammates, who effectively are just the only contenders for the win here. Polishek in the Veloster, 1.5 seconds shorter in the pit box itself. Remember, McFarlane was the one that led the way for the majority of the race. Polishek retakes, though, the net race lead.
Polishek leading for now. Can he break, though, from his teammate? You know, is it hammer time now? Because they've got an enormous lead over the rest of the field. In fact, they've come out ahead of, let's see, refresh my timing screen. Ross McFarlane and Michael Polishek have come out. No, it's sort of adjusted now. There's a few other cars, Sedgwick, Carlos Poya and Manuel Selagui, that have gone a lot longer. But yeah, point is valid. McFarlane and Polishek are miles ahead of the field. So now it's hammer time basically. Who's the quicker one? And Polishek, well, he's already 1.2 seconds ahead. He wants to try and make that breakaway.
Let's see what he can do. Saw Michael last on RaceSpot TV as part of the last iRacing special event of 2025. Second to last. We had a Super Saturday with 2 special events. It was first the iRacing Production Car Challenge, 4 hours at VIR with the hilariously wonderful Grand West layout. Has the interior section included. It's often kind of dubbed a mini Nordschleife. It also has a corner name. There's language in it that Peter and I are not allowed to say on a broadcast, or maybe we can, if it's officially the corner name, although you can say anything on a broadcast once, and only once. Michael is one of these drivers, though, that really enjoys the touring car, and he's one of the drivers that Peter would wish that there were more regular competitions. We used to have a Hyundai TCR Championship. That's back in the day when we had the likes of Corin Tengunes and Kieran Harrison in the SimRC machines racing with us as well. But because there is less of the competition nowadays, those drivers are off racing in the 24-hour series esports championship today in GT4 machinery instead.
Yeah, this it has seemed to sort of dip away, unfortunately, in popularity, which is a pity. And it kind of, I mean, we don't have a World Touring Car Championship in the real world anymore, which is we have the TCR Tour, but it's not a World Touring Car Championship. It's certainly not an FIA World Touring Car Championship, and for me that's a big shame. I think it's still a relevant category. It's still, you know, that link to real world machinery which made touring car racing so popular in the 90s and 2000s. I think that it's still relevant. It's a pity, and of course that's then being reflected in the sim as Damon Woods gets turned around. Oh no!
It's Martin Toth that gets shoved off into the grass. Badinsky's able to slip through with no damage. Moritz Lohner's in the draft of your race leader, and a race-defining moment seemingly out of nothing, Peter.
Oh dear, yeah, that blows it wide open then in GT4. Let's get another look then. David Toth coming into the International Horseshoe. Tip, tap, round he goes. Oh dear, Damon Woods does carry on actually. How did he catch that? I don't know. So bang, bang, bang.
I guess what I'm a bit confused by is, so Damon's just left a bit of room because there was an LMP3 car when he turned into the corner. That's compromised them slightly on exit, and unfortunately Martin doesn't quite recognize that and doesn't check up in time to avoid making the situation worse. Change for the lead, by the way, because guess what? Now that Andre Vieira doesn't have to punch the hole in the air, he's let Moritz Lohner jump on through.
So that's interesting then, that Lohner is not playing the fuel game per se, but Andre Philippe Villela is, because remember, he was one of 3 drivers that was able to go a lap longer on the first stint, and so now his strategy is clearly do it on the fuel number, and maybe a bit of bum drafting as well. So he's hoping that that advantage he has will help. I mean, the only thing is, though, is that Lohner did take 4 seconds of fuel more on at the last pit stop. How much more did he need? That we don't know. But we're now opening into that pit window for GT4. You could pit now in GT4 and make it all the way to the end. Do you want to do that? I wouldn't say so if you've still got fuel in the tank.
Yeah. Shame that could have been a really interesting fight. I think it is, still can be, but Elliot Bedinsky and Damon Woods are now having to burn a bit more fuel to get back into this fight. So that's where they're going to be slightly compromised. Moritz Lohner has been, well, clinical in many ways. And we talked about, Porsche seeing the value in sim racing and increasingly making it part of their program. Moritz Lohner is one of those weird cases where he transitioned from sim to real. He did a full season in a GT4 car in DTM Trophy. And I distinctly remember, Peter, talking with him about his first time at Monza, where he exits the turn 1 chicane on the outside of somebody else, and they slowly escort him into the gravel that's waiting for you on the outside. And that was the light switch for him, where he went, oh, this is the real world. This is slightly different. And it's just fascinating hearing his journey through the season and how much he was learning along the way. But then he gets to the end of the season and he gets told, right, that was your prize done. If you want to keep racing, you got to go find the money. And we know that's where things get difficult. Yeah,
there's so many stories of drivers with an immense amount of ability and talent, and they just can't they can't get the package together. It's a very, very tough very tough journey to the top. You hear about, right now particularly, there's lots of manufacturers hiring factory drivers to drive their hypercars, LMDH, GTPs, GT cars, etc. But the journey to get there is long and winding, and it's the same in any category of motorsport. The sums of money required to climb your way up the order is enormous. You're talking 7 figures bare minimum, sometimes 8 figures if you go down the single-seater route. So it's tough. It's very, very tough to get the money together, and that's why so many top drivers have looked to sim racing, because of course the cost of entry are a fraction.
And the thing I really enjoy about the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in particular is the LMP2 class, and GTD as well, but it feels a little bit more true of LMP2, where there is the true pro-am nature of racing. And Stephen Thomas, at the end of last year, he was very candid and very honest and open, where he was saying, I really enjoy the racing. And he's won some of the biggest races on the calendar in that LMP2 class as well. He really enjoys the racing, but, so it's a lot of money to commit, and maybe there are other ways that he can spend his money with similar fun to be had, but maybe spending less of that money. So, yeah, the quickest way to become a millionaire, be a billionaire and go racing, right? It's true of both motorsports and even sailboat racing, which, interestingly enough, there seems to be a lot of people putting money into nowadays.
Yes, there is. Yeah, there's a lot that do sailboat racing and motor racing. Roberto Lacorte would be one example of that from Chettilar. Yeah, expensive toys. That's for sure. But that LMP2 category has given a platform for many drivers who their single-seater career has stalled due to finance, but because they've still got their FIA silver ranking and haven't been put up to a gold yet, they're incredibly valuable to LMP2 teams that need silver drivers in their mix, and they are actually either don't have to bring money or are even paid to come and drive at races like Daytona and Sebring, etc. And it's the very generous amateur driver who's part of the program that makes that possible.
I mean, best example of that, at least this year, that springs immediately to my mind is a Parker Thompson, right? Who is going to be racing in the World Endurance Championship with one of the drivers that for a long time he's been coaching, and it's a relationship that goes back and forth. When you spend this much time with someone and you're coaching them in often high stakes and high pressure environments, it's a close relationship. Very well documented in Michael Fassbender's Road to Le Mans Porsche YouTube documentary, which if you've never watched, that's not a bad viewing. Quick update on LMP3. You can see the GT4 cars seemingly no interest in fighting until they get to the other side of their pit stops. Kerwin's lost a bit more ground to Jamie Fluke at the front of the field. Christophe Herbigno as well, now back to 13 seconds. Fluke in a very strong spot, I would say, right now.
Yes, he is. Being 12 seconds up the road from Herbigno, which is interesting, but he did take on 10 seconds less fuel than Herbigno. Now, how much of a difference does that make once they've filled up? It can't be long at all before Fluke actually needs to come into the pits, because the opening stint was 56 seconds. He was one of the drivers that his stint actually went on 58 minutes, because he was one of 3 drivers that did make that stint last a lap longer, but he is surely got to be coming in soon, you would imagine.
Yes.
You would think so. With him, he pitted with 1 hour and 26 minutes to go, so that means he's been out there for 40 minutes. Well, and he took on a lot less, so I think he's going to be due any minute now to pit.
Yeah, looking at the fuel in terms of laps, 23 laps into the stint, which means that when the opening stint worked out at 34 laps, you're getting to that point, right, if you've taken a quarter less fuel. Oh, close with Morgan Burkhardt there, but just works out. Remember, the GT cars do need to wash out as they put their power down. They're limited in aero grip, these GT4s, especially in comparison to the GT3s. Touring cars on the bottom of your screen close back up there, so Polasek and McFarlane, it will be a tussle to the end, you best believe. It's not just LMP3 that will owe us pit stops soon. I think the GS cars are not far away from pit stops either, Peter, because 23 laps on the stint right now for Moritz Lohner. Make that 24 because he's literally just crossed the timing line. They did a 29-lap opening stint. So they have at most maybe 5 laps to go. And was that cars peeling off to pit lane? I think I saw a couple.
Might have been on staring at the timing screen.
No, I was maybe wrong and missed that one.
Okay, so we carry on then for another lap. But yeah, Jamie Fluke surely has got to be running low on fuel now, and he's going to have to take that run to the end. Of course, won't need a full fuel fill. In fact, he'll probably need a fairly similar amount actually, because he's been on out there for 42 minutes. So yeah, I think he'll be pretty much need to be in the pits at the actual pump for 30 odd seconds or so. Question is, does Christophe Herbigno in third, does he reclaim that 10 seconds back in the pits when he comes into pit? Oh, it's all very exciting.
Guillaume Rugna has just dived in from 13th. Pit window is well and truly open. On board with Kerwin, flashes past one bit of traffic. Limited fuel saving going on now, that is for sure. So they are at the end of their window. Christophe Herbigno 11.3 seconds off the lead as it stands right now. That gap has gone back and forth with Fluke and Herbigno trading times here and there. Andrew Langham says this lap, is that what we expect from Fluke, to peel off to driver's left below the yellow line? Indeed. Never doubt. Andrew Langham followed in by Casey Kerwin.
So at the last pit stop, Kerwin, he was about 2 seconds more. He took 2 seconds more fuel than Fluke did. So you would think then that he'll get that advantage back right
Look at
now,
this.
in theory. In comes Herbigno.
Wow.
Yes.
I would
But he'll have way less to put in.
Yeah, I would have assumed, though, you would have gone longer and run the tank dry, but if they're not doing tyres, although Casey Kerwin is, what's going to be the call here then for Herbigno? Is this a bit of the LMP3 insider knowledge where those less familiar with the car have felt the pressure to change the tyres? I think Jamie Fluke went up on the jacks as well. I don't see Delatraus Automotive doing that at all.
Nope. Nope. So they're going to do 2 hours and 24 minutes on the same set of tyres. There goes Fluke. He's done the two Delatraus cars. There goes Kerwin. And now Delatraus get going.
And remember, pit limiter on all the way to the end of the left-hander. Those green cones mark when. Can punch that throttle off and away we go. So Fluke has got a 3.5 second gap to Casey Kerwin, and in turn a 4 second gap to Christophe Herbigno. Jai Fletcher is still out there on track though. He's doing what I would have expected the rest of those Delatraus Automotive drivers to be doing.
Luke has been very good on fuel because he's taken less than a second, sorry, just over a second less fuel than Kerwin did. So over the pit stops, he's saved 4 seconds at the pit stops, basically all on fuel usage. And that's the difference between him and Kerwin at the moment, more or less exactly. So as we mentioned at the top of the show, it's about fuel usage here in these types of races. Lap time, of course, is important too, but you can really win or lose the race by fuel mileage.
So Andre Viela's in pit lane, but Mark Lohner is not, and so now he's got some clean air behind him. Jai Fletcher continues out on track as well. Remember, our TCR leaders are close, but we're not expecting that fight to intensify for at least another 20 minutes or so. There's a long way left to run in this race. It would be early doors to start fighting when those behind could still be brought into the thick of things. Adam State next down to pit lane. Nathan Moore behind Jamie Fluke. He's going to extend as long as possible. So Herbigno was stationary for 25.4 seconds, Peter. Jamie Fluke for 32.3.
Yep. So that then means that, yeah, again, Herbigno has spent 3 seconds longer at the fuel pump than Fluke has. So this, the reason why Jamie Fluke is going to be, well, we think he's the net leader of this race right now, is purely to do with fuel mileage. Lap times have been so close. I mean, I think Fluke 141.6 is his best. Herbigno 141.9, okay, into 3/10 on absolute ultimate one-lap pace.
Peter, Christophe Herbigno is off the road and a meatball flag. It's down at the Western Horseshoe, and we'll take a look at that. A couple of defining moments in this race. First, Casey Kerwin in pit lane. An eNASCAR driver, I'll be honest, sorry Casey, should not be sliding through their pit boxes, but Casey makes that cardinal sin and has to back himself up. Let's grab a look though at what has happened to Christophe Herbigno. Already off the track here, and see what happens. Looking slow already through the kink.
Did he? Oh. Then the other LMP3 car getting into the Mustang. What has happened there to Christophe Herbigno? So, coming through turn 1, everything's all dandy. No problem at all. A little bit of traffic up here with the Mustang just ahead of him. Does he get through cleanly? No. The door just shuts. Oh dear.
Oh, well, we've isolated it finally, what the root cause was.
Oh, and again.
Yeah, there's a bit of afters there as well, on board. It's always a closing gap because the GT car is going to wash out wide. And
I think you've got to, for the GT car, oh dear, the GT car there has enough by that point to straighten the wheel up, and there's enough room for the prototype to go through there, personally. I think that door closed very quickly. I don't think the GT4 car saw him.
Yeah, well, I think it's also one of those moves that sometimes works better in the GTP. where there's a bit more speed differential between the classes, like you've mentioned on a couple of occasions, Peter. Unfortunate. Okay, so let's now isolate down what that means. So the next car that's pitted from Delatraz is Callian May, 7th on the road. And again, similar situation where he's spent about 3 seconds longer in the pit box. But he is a full 13 seconds off of Jamie Fluke right now. So a long ways for him to try and close. Meanwhile, here come our GT4 takers down to pit lane.
Hey, what, retirement's going pretty well for Jamie Fluke, isn't it?
Helps when he doesn't take events too seriously sometimes. When he comes in on limited practice, it goes not badly for him.
It would appear so.
So Moritz Lohner sits and waits. And so for Andre Viela, it was 39.2 seconds stationary. You can ride on board with him exiting out of that Le Mans chicane on the bottom of your screen. Remember, he will also crucially have tires that have warmed up. The tires for Lohner will take a second or two more to, a lap or two more to click in. 38.6 seconds. It's going to be close on the merge.
Lohner's driven beautifully all day. Has he got the strategy right as he comes out of the pits with 36 minutes left, longing to see that green cone so he can open up the flat 6 motor in the middle of that Porsche?
It's clear.
Yep.
Vieira's in front of Damon Woods, so now the Mustang has got to try and fight in front. So really the call from Vieira worked a treat on that first pit stop, Peter. Gave him the track position to run his own race for the middle part of the race. Although now maybe looking over his shoulder just slightly with Woods, Basinski, Nogue, McNeely all lying in wait for a podium spot.
Well, what it has done for Andre Philippe Vilela is to get him up into the podium conversation. You didn't qualify in that position, qualified in 7th, and I think he's played the strategy well. The thing is, there's strategy and there's efficiency of fuel usage, and he's done both of them. He's all very well planning to save a lap of fuel on a stint, but it requires real discipline and skill to do it, to be able to maintain a reasonable lap time and see that fuel mileage number improve on the dash. And that's what he's done, and it's being rewarded right now. If he can get home on the podium, I think it'd be a really good result.
The fight between Alex Nogue and Elliot Basinski might drag them away from Damon Woods. Cody Deeth is in pit lane now as well, so that's the final taker from inside of the top 10. And so that should now be all our pit stops done for the day. There goes Cody Deeth off and away. Remember, he's got a long way to go. Moritz Lohner's going to clear him. Oh, and Cody Deeth has sped on this pit exit in such an urge to try and clear maybe that BMW. He will be back down to pit lane within the next 3 laps.
Oh, last year's winner. It doesn't look like it's going to be 2 roars in a row for Cody Deeth then. That's so annoying. That's so frustrating as he comes out behind the number 25 Bordelot car of Ulrika Kasdorp.
And I think Cody might have been mixed up in something down at the hairpin, because there was a bit of delay seeing the car enter the shot. So Moritz Lohner leads by 2.5 seconds. Then Damon Woods behind Andre Vieira. That's the podium sitters currently in GT4. Back over to touring cars then, where we can, with 35 minutes left to go, shine the light on Michael Polashek, on Ross McFarlane, the teammates who will continue to push each other to the very end of this race. 33 minutes to settle it between the two.
Total domination from this pair, Michael Polashek and Ross McFarlane. Nearly half a minute up the road, and at this level, that kind of separation is unheard of nowadays, because the cream is rises to the top, but that layer of cream is so thick now in sim racing. The participation obviously went through the roof in 2020 during the COVID lockdown, and has continued to gain momentum since, and therefore the quality has gone up a bit, like it has in global darts actually, as darts has become so popular. You laugh, but it's it's true that you look at the statistics of the averages that the players are throwing. It's the same in sim racing. You've got now a deeper bed of top drivers. So to see drivers like Polishek and McFarlane cleaning away at nearly half a minute ahead of their nearest competitors, that's mighty impressive. And looking at someone in our YouTube chat kindly put up what the strength of fields is. Yeah, the average iRating is 7,380 in TCR, so it is not a weak field whatsoever.
No, but it's also hard to judge from strength of field numbers because teammate Adam Blocker, going back to use him as the example, we were similar iRatings when I last drove seriously on iRacing. So it was 4,500, 5,000 iRating. He's now 8,000 iRating. That's not because he magically got that much quicker than me. He was always quicker than me for the record. But I guess what's happened now is with so many more people coming in, the pool of iRating has gotten bigger. So my question to you, though, is do you think that is a phenomenon that's true across the board? Like, take one of our other shared interests, which is golf. Do you think because more people are playing golf now because of COVID, which that part I think we'll agree is true, but do you think there's now better golfers because of that?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not as quick as but you're starting from a much different base. You think golfing's been going on for hundreds of years. Sim racing's been going on competitively for, when would you say competitive sim racing began?
Well,
late 90s?
Yeah, I was going to say, it depends on what you want to define, because if you want to talk about prize money, you'd say, within the last 10, but I would argue Live for Speed, that had a competitive sense, right? So, scene. So, yeah, I think, late 90s, early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a relatively new phenomenon. But so what you're saying is basically that, your handicap is your iRatings as sandbagged as your golf handicap, Margina. Is that basically what you're saying?
Oh, well, the benefit for you is I think at last check my handicap might be down to just under a 9. So.
Oh, excellent! Oh, yeah. Brilliant!
No,
you'll be giving me shots.
Yeah, I know. We're not on a good track right now. I see what you mean though, and yeah, no, I think that's right. It's been good that so many things have had influxes in interest, right? Everyone had more time to go and explore interest fundamentally, and so I think that's where a lot of the new fandom has come from. Let's sequence through a couple of replays. Let's start with it's a kind of lazy hip check, and it's not anyone's fault through the first of the horseshoes, but then as they work out through the second horseshoe, something happens here with Liam McNeely as well, because Cody Deeth has been in pit lane and not just for the penalty. So, all fine. Ooh. Oh. That's where the damage has come from.
Not the day that Cody Deeth would have wanted to try and defend his Roar Before the 24 title. I mean, it's harder to defend yourself though when you're flashing the lights as you punch somebody off.
Evidence.
My finger slipped onto the headlight flasher, yeah.
Oh, goodness. Johnny Fletcher, who I think this would have been on cold tires, having just left pit lane potentially. He's still got that number 1 on the LED panel that indicates that when he crossed the line last, he was in the lead on board. It loops early, loops fast.
Just carried a little bit too much speed in, perhaps, and just as he asked to tip the car in, the rear said, "Really, are you kidding?" I don't think so. And round he went.
Right, so
all of a sudden, Jamie Fluke is 9.7 seconds ahead. So we talked about fuel usage, we talked about how important that is. Yes, that's put him in a good position, but the lap time he's managed to pull out, that is impressive. With 28 minutes to go, Jamie Fluke in control.
So we're going to hopefully get a chance to chat to our winners, and already I'm prepping our questions, such as, Jamie, is a retired life suiting you well? 9 seconds clear of Casey Kerwin. Casey's got the speed, so this is not done. But the benefit for Jamie is no longer having to save any fuel, right? So going to get a bit of a sprint to the end, but a 10-second gap is not one that's going to shrink soon. In terms of GT4, Moritz Lohner is now 2.5 seconds clear of the fiercely forward second place Andre Vieira. Damon Woods is being chased down by Alex Nogue and Elliot Badinsky. But I think GT4, Moritz Lohner's been very similar to Jamie Fluke, absorbing pressure, saving fuel, and sits in the catbird seat right now.
Yeah, Moritz Lohner's done it. He's done an awesome job today in that Porsche, because he's had to lead the race, or at least lead his pack at each stage of the race, when others have been able to sit in the slipstream, and he's been able to manage his fuel number, knowing exactly what number he needs to hit on the right lap, etc. He's controlling it well at the moment. Last time by, yeah, just a tenth of a second slower than Andre Philippe Villela. So controlling that gap nicely. 2.6 seconds is the gap right now between them. So yeah, in control for Moritz Lohner, but he's got to hit his marks. Cannot afford one mistake. Cannot afford to get messed up in traffic, because if Andre Philippe Villela can get within a second of him, then all of a sudden the slipstream starts to play in, and we've got a typical Daytona shootout. Also, don't write off Damon Woods. Now, is that Ford Mustang absolutely in the right condition after that little side-to-side contact he had a little while ago? Bodywork-wise, it looks okay. Don't write off this man here, the number one Damon Woods, because he's easily within touch of Andre Philippe Villela in the Porsche, and if they can actually work together, they could potentially catch Moritz Lohner. It's a big ask, but don't write him off just yet.
I'm going to give a shout out to, I believe it's Gaio Valero, that has been updating Liquipedia, which is, Wikipedia but for esports, with effectively all the results of the Roar in the last handful of years. And so it's been in the last couple of minutes, I've just been flicking through and looking at some of the different winners and whatnot. Jamie Fluke did do this event last year in the GT4 class. He finished 6th. Maybe he found his experience in traffic so interesting that he decided he'd prefer being the aggressor rather than the one sitting in the middle, which is always kind of the more difficult class to manage traffic in, because you're both looking over your shoulder and looking in the windshield to determine what you need to do. When you're the slowest class, when you're the fastest class, it's a little bit more certainty about what's going on. And, well, all three classes together. What happens here to Roberto Freezer in that Porsche Cayman?
Oh, I just asked for the power, and round he went. It's a really tricky part of the circuit, because you've got quite a lot of steering lock in, and you're trying to get back to power, but it's so tempting to get back to power a little bit too early, and that's what happened there. And as you transition up onto the banking, which is very, very steep indeed, it can unsettle the car as well, and that's unfortunately what seemed to happen there. Gaio Valero, thank you for updating those. I had a good look early on this morning. Must be quite satisfying putting yourself in as the winner of last year's TC. Go, oh yeah, I did win that, didn't I? Oh yes, type that in.
Yes, no, I was. I forgot about that as well. Yes, he did win last year, and so maybe that's part of why he made some of these updates. You look through the history of this event as well. We've always had 3 classes in the last couple of years. Initially, though, we didn't have a prototype. We had GT4 being the fastest, and we had a slower class, whether it was MX-5, whether it was GR86. One of those classes where the speed differential was maybe a little bit interesting at certain times. I think this is a nice mix between representing the IMSA VP Sports Car Challenge as well as, of course, the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. I know there are some people, though, some fans out there that enjoy some of the lower powered machinery, Peter, because as you and I know, lower power doesn't mean worse racing. In fact, sometimes it's the opposite. Lower power equals better racing. And so there are some special events through the year that iRacers can enjoy, most notably that iRacing Production Car Challenge.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really, really cool. I mean, I love watching the Mazda MX-5 Cup at Daytona, and quite often I think it's the second race is usually held as the sun's just starting to go down. It's just getting dark and under the lights. It's held before night practice for the IMSA WeatherTech Championship, and all the IMSA WeatherTech teams are in having their dinner before night practice, and everybody, the whole catering tent, massive big catering tent with all the teams eating in it, everybody is huddled around the TV screens watching it. And you have some of the biggest names in global motorsport absolutely engrossed by the Mazda MX-5 race, so it is a must watch at all places, but particularly Daytona.
Well, Jamie Fluke, excuse me, sir, you don't need to give me a heart attack, thank you very much. Through the traffic, got a bit close. The only thing, and maybe you'll disagree with me on this, Peter, the only thing I am not such a fan of when it comes to watching MX-5 is, well, there's two things. One, my heart attack. My heart rate goes up to the point where it feels like I'm about to have a heart attack sometimes. Second one, of all the series in the IMSA calendar, so it's not just on any particular weekend, but I feel as though the noise of the MX-5s when they're up and running might be my least enjoyable noise of all the series.
It's kind of like a load of hornets all together, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They seem to have one tone, yes. But you can let that away for the racing that's on show. That's the main thing. Oh, a little bit of a check up there for Fluke. That was what we noticed a little bit earlier on. And when you're in that lead, you've got to be careful not to get involved in too much. You had to really get on the brakes there.
Yeah.
To avoid any further problem. But he's still 8.5 seconds in the lead. Don't panic.
No, he's still got plenty of gap. The story that I've heard as well is the reason why the MX-5 sound like that is because of it. Places like Daytona, but across of the entire calendar, they bump draft a lot. And so originally the exhaust was pointed directly at the rear. But then what would happen is when they would bump draft, you would start melting the front bumper, and that obviously has significant aero effects. So simple solution was cut the exhaust and point it directly at the ground, and so it just kind of reverberates a lot. And so Hornet, Bumblebee, I'm obviously very partial to the noise of a Porsche Flat 6. I mean, it is a symphony, quite frankly, in my mind. It is. I mean, the Mustang V8 growl, that's got its own distinctive burble that you, especially when you feel the sensation, it's really nice. Lamborghini Super Trofeo is an interesting sound. It's very screechy, but like in an interesting way. And I think that's all the single make. Ferrari Challenge, not many people hear those, but those also sound pretty good. I'm just saying, of all the single make series, don't enjoy the Mazdas as much. Someone in chat disagreed with me, so I feel like I've got to justify myself slightly.
I feel like you were starting to dig yourself a hole there, then got yourself back out again, and then dug back in again, and then back out again. They're all great.
They are all great.
I tell you what, the support series I'm looking forward to at Daytona this year is the HSR historic race on the morning of the race. That's going to be cool. 962s, 935s.
It's the only thing I'm looking forward to more than hearing the V12 Valkyrie once again. Oh.
And it didn't go to Daytona last year, of course. So,
yes.
Yeah, first time we're going to see the Valkyrie. I think they've got a shot of winning it this year at Daytona, because if they have a similar straight line performance that they had at Petit Le Mans, they've got a car to win.
Agree. And boy, the speed at Petit, really impressive. Really impressive. And as well, I mean, RIP to the Lamborghini SC63 that at Watkins, at Indy, at Petit was showing that car could have fought a bit more if the resources were on offer. Damon Woods has slipped in front of Andre Vieira, so you are right, by the way, that Damon Woods was not one to be discounted. 20 minutes to go, a 3.2 seconds gap. Peter, that's asking for a lot.
It is, and that's, I think, in the process that Damon's gone through to get past Andre there, that has stretched the gap, because the gap was around 2.4, 2.5 seconds, now up to 3. So now we'll see, does Damon Woods have the pace to try and run that gap down? That's a lot of time to run in 18 minutes. What are we talking there? We're talking 11 laps?
Well, I mean, this is where it's always fun in multi-class racing, because your GT4 and TCR leaders are dependent on where Jamie Fluke is. They aren't truly in control of how many laps they are going to run. Fluke is just unwound out of the first of the horseshoes. Maybe another 11, 12 laps to go, somewhere in that range, but we'll have more certainty the closer we get. Tell you what, as we're getting closer to the end, still waiting for the fireworks to go off between Michael Polishek and Ross McFarlane. Can one of the teammates get into the Discord and remind them that there's some fans that want to battle in the closing stages?
Well, I think we're going to get it, because Polishek has threatened to pull away a few times. He's got the gap up to about 1.5 seconds, and then now McFarlane's right on his boot lid in the Honda. So I wonder who's going to come out on top here. I mean, it seems that Polishek's got good traction out the corners, but you know, is that enough? I mean, I guess that's good coming out the bus stop out for that last lap dash. Is McFarlane just keeping his powder dry? He had to have his eyes on the back of his head there. Oh, has he got a bit of a tap there?
No, that was the universal sign of, what are you doing? There's a fight for the lead going on here.
Yes.
Oh, well, it's just your reminder that one moment through traffic could change this race, and we are not done with traffic. 60 cars started, though, Peter. One of the biggest grids that is available on iRacing. Attrition, though, has taken us down to 45 still running. So is that 15 retirees in just a 2-hour and 24-minute race?
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. Thing is, at this level, you can't really afford any kind of error. Even on a longer race, it puts you too far down. But in a 2-hour, 24-minute race, it's any mistake is going to be critically punished. So, not surprised to see guys who've maybe been into the wall and thought, no, I can't get a result here, so I'm done for the day. I love having 3 classes, different characteristics, different storylines. But Jamie Fluke, I mean, well, at the start of the first stint of the race, you thought, well, Delatraz, the guys, they look like they're dominating this race. They're going to have this easy. Only one of them's on the podium right now, and it's the bottom step of the podium at that.
Yeah. Sometimes you come in with all that preparation, you feel so confident, but the racing gods don't smile in your favor. That is the thing that makes racing so unique, in my opinion, as compared to any other sport, really. And it's not true that any other sport, I'm sure there are other sports that are similar, but take the NFL, take the Premier League, depending on which side of the pond you're on. On any given weekend, let's say there's 20 teams in the league, 10 of those teams can win. Whereas in Formula One, only one team is ever going to win. At least multi-class racing, we have the opportunity to celebrate a couple of additional winners as well, but these are competitions in which inherently winning is a much less frequent act than in some of the other sports that we enjoy watching so much. And so being able to celebrate some of those other accomplishments are A, important, but B, it also makes you realize that sometimes you come into an event and you can only control so many of the variables. One variable, though, Peter, that we haven't had today that some drivers will be glad for, some drivers would have hoped for a little bit more interruption from, the iRacing weather system.
Yeah, of course, the rain is a possibility for each race in iRacing now, and yeah, that throws every kind of strategical calculation straight out the window. Rip it up and start again, and be ready to rip it up again several times. Not today. It's dry today. In fact, from my memory, at the Rolex 24, the last several years we've not had rain during the race. We've had incredibly cold temperatures at points, but I don't think we've had rain. We've had rain in practice, but not in the race. Maybe we will this year.
Peter, if it starts raining, I'm going to talk to the responsible adult because you've just
That's not good for you.
You've talked
Not
it
good
into
for you.
existence, and you and I are switching positions.
No,
Yeah, please no freezing rain. Was it 2019?
Was the big wet?
Yeah, was that the big wet year?
rain. Yeah.
Oh, that looked horrible for the drivers, for everybody. That just looked like a... I mean, it kind of looked like Singapore monsoon rain, to be completely honest.
It did. It did. Have you got the little... Did you buy the pit bike?
Oh, no. The reason why is because I looked at buying a bigger electric bike. Set some context, Peter and I was discussing buying some form of transportation for inside paddocks.
Whoa,
no. Goodness. Oh, Andre Vieira's going to be furious, and rightly so. Timo Milikangas has, turned into him is the only description really, and that fiercely forward Porsche stricken on pit entry.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That was a textbook example of what not to do in multi-class racing. So, sorry, what's going on there? Explain that one to me. You're right, Andre Villela will be furious when he watches that replay back. He's driving along, minding his own business. I'm on the bottom line, as we're told to. Faster car around the outside. Was he going to go into the pits or something? I mean,
if he did, then the acceptable thing to have done would have been to duck below the yellow line earlier. Yeah, that's...
Well, when he's running 15th in class and 9 laps into a stint, so yes, there wouldn't be any real reason to go into the pits. That was not what you would expect at this level at all.
Yeah, there's no blame that can be placed on the poor GT4 machine. Oh, and that, unfortunately, it sums up the heartbreak that sometimes is real motorsports as well. Oh, that's the hard part of being on pit lane sometimes and seeing the emotions when, people give it their all like they do in the sim world as well. And a championship, a race win, whatever it is ripped away through no fault of their own. Peter, in your experience, sometimes, you'll talk to someone at the end of a rally stage where they've had a mechanical issue. I can only imagine what that was like.
I think it's also is the fact that, yes, it was not in your control, but it was in somebody else's control. That was absolutely in the control of Teemu Milikangas there. That is really, really poor driving for this level. Sometimes you see that at a lower level, but not in a top split. I'm sorry, that's really, really poor. And for Andre, that's such a shame because he was looking really locked in for a podium. Played the strategy right, done the fuel right, and what are we, 12 minutes to go? Well, when the accident happened, 12 minutes to go of a 2-hour and 24-minute race, you get wiped out on the straight by an LMP3 car. We weren't even close to a braking zone or anything. That is really poor. Really, really poor. I hate to say it.
I know someone suggested it might have been a technical issue. Unfortunately, the way the replay...
Well, I hope so, because it looks so bad.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, the way the replay camera would show with the way the production set up to keep things short, you wouldn't see the steering wheel, but I can confirm there was no untoward thing on the steering wheel. It just looked like a natural mistake. And again, it's a mistake. It's not intentional, but yeah, multi-class misjudgments. Sometimes those are the worst. So with less than 10 minutes now to go in the first iRacing special event of the year, it is the 2026 iRacing Roar Before, presented by Go Motorsports Shop. Only one of our class leads is truly up for grabs. It's still Michael Polishek, Ross McFarlane, and we'll keep most of our attention on them. There's still a fight for the second and third step on the podium in GT4, and so Damon Woods, Alex Noguet, Elliot Badinsky have to keep our eyes on them as well.
Damon Woods has trimmed a couple of tenths out of Lohner's lead, but he needed to trim a couple of tenths per lap to try and run down Lohner for the lead. So it looks like it's going to be 4 different winners in the last 4 years in GS at the Roar Before the 24 here on iRacing. And can Polishek hold on? It seems that he's got an ever so slight straight line speed advantage. It's very hard to tell, but it looks like just coming out the corners that the Veloster just seems to hook up really well. and it's a little bit more of a struggle for McFarlane to keep with him. Now, McFarlane may have better braking performance, a better turn-in or what have you, but at Daytona, straight line is so critical. Well, now he's in the slipstream.
I'm looking at the raw speeds, Peter, and it's only around now that McFarlane has started to have a higher top speed. So it's taken him effectively until they've exited NASCAR Turn 4 to start closing, and he's closing at the differentials, 2 kilometers an hour between them. So you are, I think, correct. It's not just that the top end speed, it's the time it's taking for McFarlane to get to the top speed that's contributing as well. So, Michael Polishek, if traffic doesn't impact him, could be in a great position. And I bring up the traffic because Lucas Lodato, one of their World Sim Racing teammates, did go into their chat and say, we'd like to see a bit more fighting, to which we have been told, Peter, traffic has made things difficult. So Michael and Ross, they want to fight.
Yeah, and they will when it comes to it. 7 minutes to go, and it seems that, just out the corner, Polishek's able to pull half a car length. I think the Veloster just seems to have, look at that, how a little bit of a improvement on the brakes there from McFarlane, and then in just this initial acceleration phase, see there, and bear in mind that McFarlane's right in the slipstream. I just think it's marginal, but it might just be enough for Polishek to hold him off.
It's so fascinating. Love it. Two of the best, and two teammates that have elected for different cars. I'd be fascinated to understand why McFarlane picked what he did. Polishek flashes the lights, but it's a bit late for that. The damage already done. This is where teammates will potentially avoid forcing the issue through the chicane. And now to turn one, Polishek vulnerable. McFarlane has never been so close. He pops out high for a second. Does he pop out of the draft?
This is as close as he's been for a long time. Bad luck there for Polishek, but that's what multi-class can do. McFarlane going for the bump draft. Now, is he going to try and make a move now and try and ruffle his teammate up a little bit, or is he just going to wait to that last lap? Well, there's your answer for now. I think he had enough of a run there to maybe even try and start to make something happen, but no. Is he going to try and pick it in another part of the circuit? We know that we think that the Honda might be that little bit better on the brakes with McFarlane behind the wheel, maybe. Pretty good in the entrance to the corner, but out the corner, seems that Polishek has got maybe even a driving style, slight difference between the two of them. It's just that little bit of grunt. There it is. See there, it's a meter or two. But that, you've got to think then that if Polishek can get out the Le Mans chicane ahead, has he potentially got the straight line speed to actually hold it all the way to the flag? I don't think so. I think you're right. Polishek was probably biding his time in those first couple of stints, and now the full hand is being shown. Fight for second in the GT4/GS class is really starting to intensify, and Alex Noguet in those grid and go colors, again in that difficult position of going on offense while defending as well. Moritz Lohner has stretched the advantage back up to 3 seconds, crucially. 5 minutes left on the clock. Jamie Fluke in control, Moritz Lohner in control of their respective classes, and then waiting for the two juggernauts to continue going back and forth. And someone in chat was cheering Michael Polishek on from the IMSA vintage community. That again represents the diverse capabilities of Polishek. He raced last year in the Toyota GR Cup Esports Championship, TCR race as well. Oh, but throw him in a IMSA vintage Audi, knows how to control the four-wheel drive natured beast as well. Back to turn one. McFarlane just a bit too far behind, I think, to show the nose this time around. But time is winding down. Jamie Fluke is heading back onto the banking. We may have 3 laps left to go. So McFarlane showing headlights going into some of the corners, going into the Le Mans chicane in the previous lap, was just showing one headlight in the mirror saying, I'm here, I'm right here. They've been right together the entire race. You feel like they could drive around like this forever, but McFarlane's got to think, how can I beat him? Trying to calculate, how do I make this happen? Do I have to go for a rough move? Do I have to stuff it up the inside at one of the horseshoes and then hope that I can hang on? Or do I have to draft? And the thing is, I just don't know, has he got enough straight line speed over the Veloster to actually get enough of a draft? Even if he's right on the back of Polishek coming out the Le Mans chicane, does he have enough straight line speed to get past that Hyundai? That's the question.
So Jamie Fluke has got 2 laps to go. These drivers, when I said 3 laps to go, had 3 laps then. 2.5 for them now. Time winding down. And again, that fight for second through the traffic. Damon Woods, Noge Badinsky, by no means settled. Or 3 abeam as they head up towards the kink. Eyes everywhere you look, as even the fight for 4th in the LMP3 category is starting to compress. But the crucial exit from that Le Mans chicane, and Michael Polishek makes a mistake. Ross McFarlane will pop in front, but only by a nose. It's a drag race to the start-finish line with 2 laps still left to run.
Massive moment there for Polishek, and look at this now as they're side by side. Look at the mid-range grunt of that Hyundai, even with a big overlapping speed coming out the chicane still. But now the side draft comes in. McFarlane with the side draft boogie in the Honda round the upside, up the top line now as they're side by side. Going to hit the brakes for turn 1. Polishek has got to be brave. He's got to be very brave, and McFarlane probably even braver, and Polishek hangs on. Wow, that was a massive moment there coming over the curbs, and that probably shows more than anything how tricky this new Le Mans chicane configuration is, Arjuna, because even a TCR car, which is designed to just hammer curbs, can't handle it either.
They are car eaters, those anti-cut curbs, and there was a lot of discussion in the IMSA Esports Global Championship around the usage of them. iRacing has tightened up track limits there, and at turn 1 to the outside with traffic. This is where McFarlane sees his chance. Is he going to try and cut underneath and get the drive off the corner by straightening up the steering? It's not going to quite work out. And they do have another touring car machine that they're closing up on as well. That could make the traffic management rather interesting. Teammates starting to battle as they head on to the penultimate lap of the race, I believe. Jai Fletcher alongside of Corentin Milleru. Aaron Full in that battle as well. Just outside of the podium contention for the time being, and Corentin Milleru has driven around the outside of Jai Fletcher. That is a bold move. Into the chicane. Can Polishek avoid the mistake? Second time by.
They go then. 1 curb, 2 curb, 3 curbs. And yeah, much more careful this time over. So see McFarlane right in at the slipstream here. He can't really get a great deal closer to pick up the slipstream, and he is not gaining time, none at all, from that Veloster. Seems to just have just the edge on the exit of the corner and then the mid-range. Then in the top end, here it comes at last, and if you can maybe pick a little bit of a side draft, maybe could do something. Polishek on the headlight flashers. They're coming up against a little bit of lap traffic, which very respectfully moves out the way. It's a last lap showdown at Daytona.
And as they fight, we've got a full 3.5 miles to enjoy it. It's Jamie Fluke, one of the nicest people in all of sim racing, that in retirement is flying high. The winner of the iRacing Roar, presented by Go Motorsports Shop. In dramatic fashion, Casey Curran will fight forward to second after stumbling in the early stages. What a fight back from the NASCAR driver, and give him his kudos as well. It's Mauser's own Moritz Lohner that will cross the line, winner in the GT4 category. 2.5 seconds clear of Damon Woods at the line, who had a photo finish with Alex Nogue. Now, 2 crucial acceleration points here, Peter. Ross McFarlane enters the first of them.
So what can McFarlane do? Can he figure anything out to try and beat his teammate? It must be so frustrating watching that. Look at that. Look at that Hyundai Veloster. Just those couple of meters is enough in that initial, that acceleration, and through the mid-range, through 3rd, 4th, 5th gear, and just begins to pull away now as they hit the terminal velocity. Is the Honda that little bit more slippery, or does it start to pick up a little bit more? Yes, a little bit. Now it's all about how can he get out of the Le Mans chicane. Can he set this move up? Polishek Got to think his confidence had been knocked a little bit after that big moment, but no such problem here. It's going to be a drag race.
Oh, I think Polishek has got it. It comes down to the straight line ability of the cars. The drivers matched through 2 hours and 24 minutes. Is there one final burst of acceleration here to close out the first of our 2026 special events? Taking the shortcut goes Polishek down below the yellow line. Here comes McFarlane with the steam. He noses in front, and it is a photo finish. 21 thousandths of a second. Ross McFarlane gets it done.
Wow, just at that top end speed and that side drafting, McFarlane setting it up perfectly, even with that extra grunt coming out in the mid-range there for Polishek. McFarlane, canny as ever, timed it perfectly. What a run for the win in TCR.
Here are our LMP3 and GS winners celebrating amongst each other. I've got to say, Peter, this event is... every year I come back and I feel refreshed to be at Daytona. We always have a blast, we always put on a show, and it's a sign that the year is kicking off in earnest, not just in the real world where racing in the Middle East is picking up, but here in the sim as well.
Yeah, fantastic stuff there. And for Jamie Fluke, a driver with so many wins, so many great results behind him in a long professional career at the top of sim racing, and taking a little step away from it and still taking part and still going for it, well, he's done the job. I wonder if he's run out of fuel here. Is Moritz Lohner having to give him a push? I think he maybe has. So Fluke's timed it perfectly. That shows you that he's still got a lot of that pro level in him.
I think you're right.
Fantastic job.
Sixth gear, trying to roll the speed. I think you are right. I tell you what though, Peter, that finish between our TCR battlers deserves a second viewing as they broke their way to the line. I've got to say, I did not think the Honda had it in it, but Ross McFarlane knew. He was biding his time. He was being patient until that very last moment. Polishek caught in two minds whether he wanted to commit fully below the yellow, and how close would it be?
Well, it was all in the... It shows you how good balance of performance can be sometimes, because the Veloster appeared to get out the corner and into the mid-range set phase, if you like, a little bit better than the Honda. It was pulling away with the Honda right in the slipstream. But then, on the outside line, as they got into the top end, the Honda maybe a little bit more slippery through the air, and the side draft was really strong and was able to side draft and get it just at the right moment. 21 thousandths of a second. Another TCR winner, one of many for Ross McFarlane, but it's a Roar Before the 24 win. Very special. It's
another year, by the way, where we have a full slate of brand new winners. The only driver to repeat in the modern era of the iRacing Roar is Will Chadwick, but it's Jamie Fluke that grabs top honors. Got to give full kudos once again to Casey Curran. We know he loves a prototype drive, but after stumbling in the early stages, roars back to second, part of the Solpec precision effort here today. Callie and May, the best of the Delatraz Automotive representatives, they'll be slightly frustrated, although Corentin Milleru and Jai Fletcher end up just in front of Aaron Full, the second best of the Solpec drivers. Pascal Stix, the veteran for core sim racing, 9 spots gained to grab 7th on the road. Nathan Moore just behind, while Alec Bergstrom and Louis Valentine round out the top 10. Daniel Lomba, Guillaume de Rugna, and then Max Cuthbert. Daniel Sakulic, your driver who scored on the lead lap. Everyone else effectively a DNF, with Christoph Herbigno, Roman Bokler, who did cross the line, albeit 5 laps down. Adam State, Timo Milikangas, Nick Langer, Paris Charles, again to get into the used car lot with Nathan Lafranche, 21st position. Run down through the GS field, where Moritz Lohner 2.5 clear of Damon Woods, and Miles will be very thrilled with that effort. Alex Nogue third on debut for Grid and Go in an iRacing special event, while Elliot Badinsky, the best of the BS Plus hybrid drivers. Liam McNeely 5th, Martin Toth 6th after a incident took him down out of play in the first of the horseshoes. Gal Valero 7th, Tommy Rozier, Jordan Backmeyer, and DJ Allison Drini, the top 10. Remember, Gal Valero, last year's winner in touring car, he steps forward to GS, while Morgan Burkhardt, Eureka Castorp, Pedro Vijario, and then Kenzie Neuhoff scored on your lead lap. 1 lap down for Byron Pierce, Matt Kendall, Andre Viella, Robert Freezer, Cody Deeth, Zach Radaway White. Several of those involved in trouble, as were Nicholas Laubish, Alberto Senau, Christoph Eliach, Aaron Zyrek, John Badefer, Claudio Mack, and Julian Van Boel. Last but not least, they don't quite fit onto just one page, but Ross McFarlane and Michael Polasek were the class of the field. And 21,000 split the World Sim Racing teammates, while Carlos Puyo grabs the third and final step on the podium, just in front of Manuel Sarlegui, while Oysten Herford, Andre Castro, Jack Sedgwick, Logan McKinsey, and Augustin Fernandez finished within 1 lap of the leader. 2 laps down for Ayrton Reutemann, Matthias Pentela, and Konstantin Stolzenberg, unfortunately classed as DNFs. See if we can get Jamie Fluke in for a chat in a couple of moments' time, but while we wait for him, Peter, a quick look again at the season that lies ahead, a full calendar of iRacing special events, and what fun lies ahead.
So much, yeah. You look at the highlights in there of your sports car fan. Bathurst 12 Hour coming up very, very soon. Also, Mobile 1 12 Hours of Sebring, that is one you want to replicate as well. The Road America 500, Nürburgring 24. I've only got to May. If you look later on in the year, I mean, if you're a Formula Ford fan, the Formula Ford Festival in October, the SCCA Runoffs, that's a great day. Lots of different things to race in there, and I've not even scratched the surface. Fantastic work from those at iRacing to put on so many great events like that.
Let's catch up with our race winner in LMP3, Jamie Fluke, standing by with Peter Mackay.
Jamie, congratulations. You're the winner of the 2026 iRacing Roar Before the 24. This retirement lark suits you quite well.
I guess it does, a little bit. That worked out way better than I was expecting it to. Only bought this year on Thursday and just sort of ground it out ever since. But yeah, wasn't the fastest car on track today, but seemingly strategy worked out okay and somehow picked up the win.
I think there was a combination of strong lap time from what we could see and the fuel strategy. Tell us about the process of coming up with that strategy, because you were, there was a few different out there, but you were completely unique in your strategy. What was the working that got you to the solution that ultimately did win the race today?
I think that the best way to run a race like this is run it as long as you can first stint and then split the rest of it kind of in half, which was kind of the logical thing. I didn't take any tires in the race at all, so it was trying to distribute how the car sort of behaved on higher fuel, like trying to keep that sort of equal, I guess, and not spend as much time on a heavy tank of fuel with worn out tires. So that, I think, worked out in my favour. I'm surprised at sort of how it shook out for most of the others. I was sort of expecting a similar sort of strategy from others, but yeah, I thought I went with the default strategy on that one and ended up being the alternate, and yeah, it worked out.
It certainly did. Congratulations, Jamie, on a great win. And does this mean it's a return? Are you back, or have you found the right groove for you in competitive action?
In terms of like super competitive stuff, I'm doing like little bits and pieces here and there, but I won't be around for sort of the main event, shall we say, with the big Daytona race next weekend. Probably will be doing very few of the big specials that are team events, but the solo stuff that's this sort of length and takes sort of this amount of time out of a Saturday afternoon, I'm kind of all for it. So you'll see me in more stuff sort of like this, but yeah, that time will tell moving forward, I guess, on top.
Well, it's great to see you out on track and a fantastic win today. Class is permanent, as they say. Well done, Jamie.
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate it.
Oh, class is permanent indeed. Let's catch up with Ross McFarlane after a interesting 2 hours and 23 minutes. It was the last minute or so that really captivated us all. Ross, we weren't sure, being candid, if the Honda had the straight line speed and the acceleration to win in a drag race at the very end, but clearly you picked the right car. Your teammate picked slightly differently. Congratulations on the win. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, thanks, guys. No, I obviously feel pretty good. Yeah, like you said, the Honda definitely lacks the acceleration, but it gets back there at the top end. So I knew that if I just stuck on the wing of Michael, I could get it done near the end. But yeah, obviously feeling pretty good. We executed the race very well. It's very useful when you have a teammate to work with. You can kind of just pull away from the bunch. So yeah, really happy about it.
In terms of the rest of the year, obviously, you know, Peter and I were discussing this. We don't often get to see too much of the touring cars outside of the World Touring Car Championship on RaceSpot TV. What does WSR have in the plans for 2026, and what are you going to be racing in a lot?
Well, hopefully we'll attend the remainder of the TCR races. Obviously, there's maybe hints of a new front-wheel drive car coming to the service at some point this year, maybe. We hope so. And yeah, so races like Thruxton are going to be good. I think is there one other new special event potentially that's been added, but in general, GT3, a little bit of LMP3, you'll see us everywhere, hopefully.
LMP3 sounds quite interesting. Ross, congratulations on a great win, and looking forward to seeing plenty more of you and the team on RaceSpot TV this year.
Cheers, guys.
It's only fair that we catch up with his teammate as well after a sterling drive. Michael Polisex with Peter Mackay.
Michael, it was so close there between you and Ross all the way through, but that final run to the flag, when you came out the Le Mans chicane, did you think you had him at that point?
Yeah, I think so. It was going to be close either way, but I think Ross might have just gotten a slightly better run. The Hyundai, I think, definitely has the better straight line speed compared to the Honda, so I was hoping from the lead I could have won. Maybe if I played it differently, I could have given up the lead last lap. I'm not 100% sure, but I thought I could have had it, but unfortunately I'll have to take P2, but very happy with the WSR 1-2, and congrats to Ross for the excellent drive and the win.
Yeah, you guys were completely dominant today in a race of your own compared to the rest of the field. I mean, what do you think the difference was that you both had over the field?
Well, we're very experienced in these cars. We drive these cars a lot, and we pretty much know everything about them, especially on this tire model. Looking forward to seeing what they do with the next tire model next season. But it's really just a matter of figuring out all the little quirks of the TCR, how to drive front-wheel drive cars, and we're both very good at that. So just using that experience and putting it to work and not making any mistakes and being careful with the traffic, that's, I think, what really separated us.
It was, it was a masterclass, that's for sure. Michael, I know it wasn't the win today, but it really was a strong performance. Well done, and hopefully we'll see you next week at Daytona.
Thank you very much.
And last but not least, let's catch up with our GT4 race winner. Moritz Lohner steps into the iRacing world and comes out on top. Moritz, great to see you. Not doing the Tommy Milner salute to me, at least this time, but seemed like a really interesting strategy fight. And to be honest, given how much of the race you led, given how fuel dependent it seems as well, I was surprised at how that track position played out for you.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It was very difficult because I saw from the race that Lasse did in last night that after the first pit stop, maybe you can start to push and you don't really have to fuel save anymore. But it seemed to be that our train is gonna stick until the very end. So I was prepared to just lead the train until the very end. But then, yeah, I guess a little bit of fuel saving came in. The more you save fuel, the less time you stand in the pits. So that was quite crucial, especially leading. You always have the fear of someone behind you not really paying too much attention and just running into your back. But yeah, it worked out. Then there was some incident behind me, and from that on I saw in my mirror, okay, time to flat out push, and gave it my all. Was able to drive out a little bit of a gap that I was be able to hold until the end. And yeah, it was very tough because they tried to push each other a little bit towards me, but yeah, it all worked out in the end. And I think I have my first iRacing victory in, like, I don't know, 8 years or so, so quite happy with it.
8 years in the waiting. I guess what's the plan for the rest of the year then for you? Because much like we were saying with Jamie Fluke, this is an opportunity, these events, to relax a little bit, right? Step out of the usual grind and do something different. What are you expecting to do for the rest of 2026?
I mean, it's a little bit of a different grind, right? Like obviously the big esports titles where you have to be offline practicing and really going into detail into it is very tough and very demanding. But at the same time, driving like the whole week the normal iRacing races to prepare for the Roar, for example, it's also quite the grind and quite a lot of driving time. So it's not really too relaxing, but I feel like it's more relaxing for the mind because it's a lot more fun, especially with streaming. I had a lot of fun these last few days and also in this race. So that's nice, and it also, for me at least, I can gain some confidence back that may be lacking in, when the esports thing doesn't go that well for a couple of months or years. So that's quite nice to have. And then, what the future holds this year, I actually have absolutely no idea how it's gonna look like this year. So I'm just gonna take everything one at a time and see where it leads to. Yeah.
Well, hope it put a smile back on your face, Moritz, and hoping for the best for you in 2026. Great drive, great victory. Hoping we'll see you more this year.
Cheers, guys.
Wraps up our post-race coverage here of the iRacing Roar presented by Go Motorsports Shop. But Peter, let's be honest, this was the prelude, the preview, the Roar before the main event. The iRacing Daytona 24 powered by VCO. Join us on 17th of January. 12:30 p.m. UTC, green flag to drop 15 minutes after that. And Peter, the real Rolex 24 carries so much weight and significance. The Sim Racing Edition does as well.
It does, yeah. All the greats of sim racing have won that event, and it's a way to set your stall for the rest of the year, to set the tone that you're the team to be feared. And I can't wait to see who comes out on top, because as Moritz mentioned, to win at this level in sim racing, the commitment required is massive, and the execution has to be perfect, and we'll marvel at that next weekend, I'm sure.
Marvel indeed. 24 hours of plenty of conversation and some fun conversation here on the iRacing Roar. Thanks so much for your company. What an electric way to start off the 2026 iRacing special events. 3 classes, solo entries, and 2 hours and 24 minutes of fantastic racing action. For Peter Mackay, Arjuna Kankipati signing off from the World Centre of Racing, where our focus will remain for the next couple of weeks, but plenty more action to come on the iRacing Esports Network, the iRacing special events.